Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode, I am talking about O'Malley versus Merab. Guys, I'm going to give you guys my pick right off the bat. I am picking Merab. Yes, believe me, I'm picking Merab. I believe he's going to get the job done. I'm going to take a poll in the chat room. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this fight. Give me 1 second here. Who wins? Before I tell you guys why I'm picking Merab. So let's put O'Malley. I want you guys start polling right away. Merab. Okay, guys, let me know who wins, Merab or O'Malley. I'm picking Merab. Let me tell you guys why I think Merab is going to win. Okay, but before I tell you why I think Merab is going to win, let me talk to you about O'Malley first. Okay, O'Malley, I went over his fights today. I rewatched his fight with Peter Yan. I rewatched Merab's fight with Henry Cejudo. Both very impressive fighters. The number one thing O'Malley brings to the table is his stance switching, his reach, and his power. Okay, he's a very strong puncher. He's a very, very strong knee. He has a beautiful knee. He hurt Peter Yan with a knee to the face late in their fight. Guys, just for the record, I really think Peter Yan won. I thought the first time I watched that fight, I thought Peter Yan won. I rewatched it today. I thought Peter Yan won. I can't understand how they gave it to Sean O'Malley, but nonetheless, Sean O'Malley hung in tight. It was a close fight. Nonetheless, Sean O'Malley gets the nod. Now, I'll tell you something. Sean O'Malley was doing really well in the striking. He has a lot of powerful strikes. We saw him knock out Aljamain Sterling with one big punch in round 2. Like one clean shot and the fight was over. Yes, he jumped on top of him, but there was no saving Sterling at that point. He was really, really injured. He got a really big, powerful right cross right on the chin. What was making it so difficult for Sterling to get the takedown? Well, O'Malley's very precise. He's long, he's powerful, and he switches stances a lot. When he switches stances, you're never sure if that leg is going to be there. It's really difficult to get to a single leg if you don't know which leg is going to be there. Now, he's got a very powerful cross. He's got a very, very powerful knee up the middle. He's a good kicker, but doesn't do a lot of damage with his kicks. It's really his hands and his knee. We saw him knee Chito in the face several times. It was a very dangerous attack. Still, however, watching him go against Peter Yan and the way Peter Yan got him down to the ground every round consistently makes me think that Merab, even though Merab's stand-up is nowhere near as good as Peter Yan, nowhere near as good as O'Malley, I still think he's going to be able to weather the storm. It's going to be a very tough first 2 rounds. Merab has a chance of getting knocked out in the first 2 rounds. I hope Merab is very careful in the first 2. He got hurt bad by Henry Cejudo in round 1. Merab gets stunned, still comes back. But what shocked me from Merab was at one point he completely took over the Cejudo fight. Completely. Round 1 was close. I gave Cejudo the first round. But round 2 and 3, it just seemed like Merab kicked it up a gear. His cardio is on another level. Watch Peter Yan versus O'Malley. In round 3, O'Malley was fatigued, very fatigued. He was hanging in tough. He was toughing it out. However, his pace does not increase in the later rounds. It seems to slow down. While Merab is the complete opposite. Merab seems to get stronger as the fight goes. I have no doubt he can do 5 rounds. Merab's conditioning is... There is no question about his conditioning. There is no question. Now, O'Malley needs a finish. If I was O'Malley's coach, I would want him to throw everything in round 1. You got to put this guy away in round 1. I'll tell you why. Merab, when he trades, is very exposed. He's not careful like a Peter Yan. He's not calculated like a Peter Yan. He doesn't have the defense and the distance control and the footwork and the combinations Peter Yan has. I think Merab's striking offense is going to be dwarfed in comparison to Sean O'Malley. He's going to, in the early rounds, I'm referring to the early rounds. In the early rounds, he's going to have to tiptoe around Sean O'Malley's striking. He cannot trade with Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley will counter him and put him to sleep. However, I think Merab knows this. He's not dumb. He's a very intelligent guy. Now, kneeing Merab to the face could be really big or it could backfire. Merab could catch that leg and take you down and hold you down and ground and pound and solidify top position. A lot of you guys are going to wonder, hey, how's Sean O'Malley's jiu-jitsu? It's good. He's got a very good guillotine. He's known for finishing people. Well, not necessarily in MMA, but he's got a good guillotine. Okay, he's a very good guillotiner. I just don't think he's good enough to guillotine Merab. Possible, but very, very difficult. Of course, we have the Ricky Simon ultra famous guillotine. For those of you who haven't seen it, Merab fought Ricky Simon. Ricky Simon puts him in a tight guillotine, rolls Merab over. So Ricky Simon's now mounted with a guillotine, and Merab's legs are like bicycling. He's doing the bicycle for some reason. I think he's trying to show everybody, hey, I'm still awake. I'm still awake. Then the bell rings. Ricky Simon lets him go, and you can see that Merab is completely out, but his legs are still doing the bicycle. How is that possible? I have no idea. I've never seen that before. Nobody's ever seen that before. We were all shocked. I was actually there at the event. I had some other fighters fighting. We were all stunned. How could the guy be both out and doing the bicycle? He's still flailing his legs. How is that possible? I don't know. Maybe we get a guest neurologist on the show. How is that possible? I got no idea. Controversial fight. Very controversial. Everybody was going nuts. It was crazy. Merab can be guillotined. We know that. However, I just have a feeling that now he's more seasoned. He's more careful. He knows about the guillotine. Guys, don't forget, Sean O'Malley has a deadly guillotine. Could it be that he shoots into a guillotine and gets subbed? When was the last time a world title fight was won by guillotine? I'm having a hard time remembering, but none is coming to mind. It is possible, of course. I just can't think of one right now. Okay, guys, I am picking Merab. I think he's going to win it. I think he's going to be smart enough to get out of the first 2 rounds. He's going to get O'Malley down to the ground, and he's going to outpace O'Malley. O'Malley will get tired. O'Malley will get fatigued. I do fear for him the guillotine. However, I have a feeling he's going to get past it. He's working on it. He's making sure he doesn't get guillotined. Not always an easy thing to do. Guys, make sure to use Level Up 50 off. Promo code Level Up 50 off. I just released today outside heel hook. Guys, 2 weeks ago I released inside heel hook. Now I released outside heel hook. So you have now the cross ashi made easy and outside ashi made easy. Advanced Basic Series. If you get these 2 videos, you will become a leg lock genius. You will break people's legs if that's what you choose to do. 2 ultra powerful leg lock videos that go together. Okay, make sure you study both. It's over 3 hours of leg locking. Okay, put those 2 videos together. You have over 3 hours of leg locks and very precise. You guys know me, very precise. The most important moves first, everything well organized. You have a detailed sheet of everything that's in the video. You click on the link, it takes you directly there. You memorize that sheet. You review the video just by looking at the sheet. You don't have to rewatch it again unless you want to see certain details. They're all highlighted in the script of the video. All Jiu-Jitsu Club videos are fully scripted. So if you want to know a detail, it's scripted. It's written out for you. You click on it. It takes you straight to the video where that detail is being showed, etc. It's the best way to learn. Okay, so make sure to use Level Up 50 off and get any video on JujuClub.com. 50% off now. Guys, don't forget, check out the description for tsdorms@gmail.com if you guys want to stay at the TriStar Dorms and train with me and all the pros at the TriStar Gym. Do your next training camp at the TriStar Gym. Send an email to tsdorms@gmail.com. It's in the description if you want to book your dorm room today. Okay, guys, I'm taking questions only strictly on this fight. I'm very, very excited for this fight. It's happening at the Sphere. I wonder what that's going to be like. I believe it's a one and done. I think it's going to be a one-time thing at the Sphere. It's a great day when Coach Faraz jumps on a live stream. Sean Kuvarik, a member, thank you very much. That's very, very sweet of you. Merci beaucoup. Swiss S says, O'Malley's chins Merab early. Well, that's the expectation. Look, if I was O'Malley's coach, I would tell him, look, you're going to stand in the center of that cage. Whatever he throws at you, you have to deck him. You have to floor him. You have to floor him. You can't let him touch your legs. If he touches your legs, you're going to go down. I just have a feeling that Merab's going to take him down repeatedly. And every takedown is going to lead to easier and easier takedowns. It's going to be a downward spiral. Not to say that O'Malley can't take his head off, clean off in the first 2 rounds. Absolutely. Yes. Just watching Peter Yan. Peter Yan is very smart. You know, he's very, very dangerous striking. So Merab is nowhere near the level of striking Peter Yan has. But the irony of it is, when you're so worried about the takedown, sometimes you get hit with crazy stuff. Okay, so you're so worried about the takedown, the guy throws some shots at your head and ends up knocking you out. And the wrestler looks like he's a better striker than the kickboxer. Yeah, but the guy was super worried about the takedowns. His attention was completely divided. I think Sean is a favorite, but only by a bit. That's from Banyas Beans Official. Well, guys, I'm going against the favorites. Last time I picked DDP. Everybody picked, well, not everybody, I would say 60% picked Adesanya. It was a very, very close 4 rounds until DDP subbed him. I mean, it was very close. It was a very, very close fight, but it's so difficult. Look, we have here the poll so far is 66% say O'Malley, 34% say Merab. I understand the confidence in O'Malley. He's a great puncher. He's got that distance. He's a switcher. When you switch, you double up your angles, especially when you're a long, lanky guy like that. He's got powerful, powerful strikes. I wouldn't say he's the best kicker, but he's a phenomenal, phenomenal puncher. Precision puncher, great distance control, switches sides, so he doubles up the angles, makes it very, very difficult to corner him. And he's got a great knee, fantastic spearing knee to the face, really dangerous attack. Merab has a good chin. That's from Muhammad Mazgi. Yes, he has a good chin, but he's been rocked. Okay, O'Malley, Cejudo rocked him bad in round 1. Rocked him bad. He recovered, yes, but if that was O'Malley that rocked him like that, I think he could have put on the finishing touches. Is DDP proof that MMA is a tough man competition at the end of the day? Question mark. Seems like he's beating far more technical opponents time after time. That's some Tuxedo mass. Well, Tuxedo, I usually only take questions on the fight, but no, you're completely wrong. Listen, just because DDP fights the way he does doesn't mean it's wrong. It's just unorthodox. It's not wrong. He's a technical fighter. He just found a way that works for him. Believe me. You know, look at football, okay? I love football. I don't watch football anymore, but I used to watch football as a kid, and I love that sport. I always had a special place for football in my heart. American football. I just love the sport. And I remember as an adult, I hadn't watched football in a long time. I'm big into martial arts, and I see this thing called wildcat offense. I'm like, what? Like the quarterback is the wide receiver, the running back is the quarterback position. Like everything's all mixed up. It's like, what? The Miami Dolphins are running this wildcat offense, and it worked. It works, kind of works. I mean, I'm not saying it's the best offense or anything, but it played a role. And I'm sure it's because the Dolphins were like, hey, we can't beat these guys. If we play orthodox football, we're gonna get crushed. So they had to think outside the box. One great, really, really good biography. I'm forgetting the name now. Hold on 1 second. I got to give you guys the name. Give me 1 second. One moment. I can't believe I'm forgetting the name of the book. I read Bill Walsh. Okay. Bill Walsh. The San Francisco 49ers. The score takes care of itself. A phenomenal book. Bill Walsh, the San Francisco 49ers head coach. It's such a great book. Okay. This guy, this coach, he was like writing his resignation letter. He lost. I remember the book starts like he plays a game in Miami. He loses, gets his butt kicked. He's like, I can't take another loss. He's writing his resignation letter. Then one of the other coaches is like, no, you can't quit. You got to try a little more. You got to try a little more. Long story short, 10 months later, he's like winning. 10 months later, he's one of the top teams in the world. Like, it's just incredible how quickly he turned things on the dime. What did he do? Well, he had a quarterback with a weak arm. He's like, you know what? I'm going to start doing short passing. Now, short passing in that time of football, was considered ridiculous. That's how it's described in the book. Okay, I'm not a football historian. I just like football when I was a kid, but in the book, they're describing it as it was considered nickel and diming. You know, if you want 4 yards, run the ball. If you want to pass 4 yards, that's ridiculous, you know, because 4 yards is nothing for a pass. So he's like, well, my quarterback's doesn't have a strong arm. He invented something called the West Coast offense. Okay, West Coast offense means it's these short passing strategies. Well, guess what? The NFL defense was not ready for that. The whole NFL defense, they didn't have anything for short passing. So for a short period of time, yes, he had a lot of talent on the field, Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, of course, but he was kicking butt. He started crushing teams. He started, you know, he took his team all the way to the Super Bowl. Short, small passes. By the time the NFL adapted, that guy had already won a world championship. Now, DDP is doing something unorthodox. Maybe in a few months from now, a year from now, 2 years from now, the whole world is caught on. The whole MMA world. And it doesn't work anymore. It's not that he has bad mechanics. It's that he's throwing his opponents a curveball. Think of Lyoto Machida. Lyoto Machida, when he came onto the UFC, he was undefeated. He went all the way to the World Championship, won the world title, beat everybody. Joe Rogan famously says, "Welcome to the Machida era." And he was crushing guys. Then after that, okay, he won, he lost, he won, he lost. And then at one point he went on through a slide. The guy can't win a fight. He's having a really hard time. He gets cut from UFC, even goes and loses outside UFC. The guy who was once untouchable, nobody could understand him. The Machida era, nobody could put a glove on him. Nobody can give him a hard fight. This guy now can't win a fight. He's still trying the same style. He's literally always fought the same way. It's not unique anymore. We've seen your tapes. We understand what you do. You're now predictable. When a guy comes in with a very specific, an unorthodox style, it takes time for everybody to adapt. For instance, another great example is Chuck Liddell. Chuck Liddell had a very weird style. He kind of had his hands down. He kind of threw these weird hooking shots. Guys caught up to him. All of a sudden, he can't win a fight. The guy went through an incredible win streak. Then after that, he can't win a fight. That's why I would tell you George St. Pierre was so successful, because we always had a mindset of we have to always add a new wrinkle. We can't allow future opponents to think we're going to come with the same game plan. They're always got to expect something new. Keep them on their toes, whether it's a new type of strike, a new type of ground attack, takedown. We always add a new wrinkle. We didn't just do what works. We always knew that it worked yesterday. It might not work tomorrow because they're expecting it. The ultimate advantage is surprise. I don't have to tell you guys. You guys are all familiar with Sun Tzu, the art of war. What does he say? The number one is surprise and deception. If I can deceive you, I've surprised you. So it's not because he's not technical. It's just he's unorthodox. Okay, guys, I'm only doing questions on this fight, Merab versus O'Malley. I won't stay on it too long, but I want to hear you guys' thoughts. Merab does not do much with his takedowns. That's from Confidential. That was one of my worries. I'm telling you something. When I was watching him fight Cejudo, I was like, yeah, but he doesn't do anything. He doesn't have like this vicious ground and pound. He doesn't have like this punishing top pressure that suffocates you. That was one of my worries, but I just still think he's gonna maul him. It's just his wrestling is too good. His conditioning is absurd. It's unrealistic. It's incredible. Merab may surprise Sean with the striking. That's from Banyas. Yes, especially if he softens him up with the wrestling. Sometimes when you're fighting a wrestler, you're so overly worried about their takedown that you end up getting punched. Okay, there are too many classical examples of that. I won't go through them all, but believe me, we've seen it time and time again. Dang, for us, it's awesome to see you talk football. That's from Google account. Well, thank you, man. Again, I'm no expert in the sport or anything like that, but I just love this. I just love the game. The jab consistently set up his takedowns. That's from Combs. No, not from Merab. Merab's not a big jabber by any chance, by any means of a. Merab's more of a like rock'em sock'em tough guy, you know. But he's not. He's not gonna win this fight just by striking. He's gonna have to wrestle. There's no doubt in that. Do you think Merab's chin can survive a O'Malley KO power? That's from Mystical Mistress. Not if he gets hit clean early. Like, if he gets hit with what Aljamain Sterling got hit with, he's going down. He's going down. Like, Aljamain Sterling couldn't get close enough to the legs. We saw a matured O'Malley really piece him up and clip him on the way in. I just think that Merab is going to be so much more careful. He's not going to run in the way O'Malley did. He's going to take things in later rounds. Not like Sterling did. I think Sterling tried to engage O'Malley way too early in the fight. Way too early. Devin Tuck. Coach, does Merab have the best gas tank ever? It's unrealistic what he does, man. In there, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. How many times he shot on Peter Yan? How many times he shot on Jose Aldo? It just doesn't make sense to me. But still, I think the best cardio ever is Khabib. Khabib has the best cardio ever. Guys, don't forget, I'm only doing questions on Merab versus O'Malley for now. 65% calling for O'Malley to win. Merab, 35%. Oh boy. We're really at odds this time. We are really at odds. How can Merab close the distance against such a dangerous striker? That's from Simone Dussault. That's the hard question. That's the $1 million question. I think he's going to shoot a single leg. He's going to trap the single leg. He's going to tie up O'Malley. He's going to push him towards the fence. I think he's going to be very careful. He's not going to push the pace in round 1 and 2. I think he's going to take his time. He's going to be careful. He's going to lose maybe rounds 1 and 2, and then he's going to start to pick it up. Every time he takes O'Malley down, O'Malley's going to try to get up. He's going to put O'Malley back down. He's going to get up. He's going to put O'Malley back down. And then we're going to see O'Malley maybe try to use his jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. And Merab has just too many years of grappling. I don't think he gets caught in a sub. The only sub I can really see him get caught in is the guillotine. Do you think Merab is on EPO? That's from Simone Dussault. Look, I wouldn't accuse the guy without any proof, okay? But just for me, it's unrealistic. His cardio just seems unrealistic. But for me, you're innocent until proven guilty. Do you think that Merab has a larger gas tank than Sean? Question mark. If so, how should he use it? That's from Dr. Zay. Yes, absolutely. That's the whole point. That's the one reason. Like, if they had comparable gas tanks, I would pick O'Malley. It's just, I think that O'Malley's going to throw shots and Merab's going to eventually create a tie-up. And that tie-up is going to be so intense for so long that it's going to soften up O'Malley's strikes. So O'Malley has a few chances to knock him out. That window is going to get smaller and smaller as the fight goes. Because Merab's gas tank is inhuman. It's just simply inhuman. Do you predict a decision or a stoppage? That's from Marno49. Look, I think it was more likely to go to decision. It's going to go to decision. Probably he's going to maul Sean, but he has no real finishing. Merab doesn't really finish. You know, let me go see, actually. Let me go see his chart here. Let's look at Merab's chart here again. Okay, 17-4. Let's see here. Okay, he has 1, 2. Hold on a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 wins in a row. Then he comes back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 wins in a row so far. And he's 10-2 in UFC. 3 KOs only. 13 decisions. 13 wins by decision. Isn't that crazy? That's a lot of wins by decision. He's only won with 1 submission his entire career. Let me try to find it. He won by, hold on a second. He won by armbar against a guy who's was 6-2. That was in 2017. Okay, so he's got 1 submission in his entire career. And he's lost to 1 submission by 1 submission. Let's see. What submission did he get caught in? Oh, technical guillotine, of course. Ricky Simon. He was out. The man was out and his legs were still pedaling. How could I forget? One of the most famous, bizarre guillotines I've ever seen. Excited for this card. Flashback. Merab against Peter Yan. Merab had lots of failed takedown attempts. But what was spooky was Merab never got tired and kept going for the takedown and won. Crazy output. Remember, coach? Question mark. Yes, Shiz, I absolutely remember. I can't remember how many times he shot, but it was unreal. He just wouldn't relent. Shiz, you're 100% right. His unwavering, relentless pressure. I don't even think he took Jose Aldo down once. I think he shot on Jose Aldo maybe like 20 plus times, but the volume of punching and wrestling attempts was so high. It was inhuman. And guys, Jose Aldo has a ridiculously good gas tank. It's inhuman. I don't understand how it's possible a human being can have so much conditioning. It's unreal. Now, if O'Malley throws any kicks, he's going to get taken down. If he throws any knees, he's going to get taken down. That leaves him with very little few options. He's got to put those straight punches together. Merab has to be smart and not get hit with those straight punches, because I'm telling you, if O'Malley throws any type of kicking, Merab's going to grab that leg and is going to take him down. It's going to be a mauling. Merab has zero finishing potential, and Sean has shown in every fight he has the power to hurt in round 5 as well. That's from Diraj. Well, what fight did he really show he has so much power to hurt in round 5? Against Chito? I mean, what a round 5 fight did he have? Let me Okay, against Chito, he had finishing power, yes, okay. Aljamain Sterling, he finished him around 2. Peter Yan was 3-round decision, okay, which a lot of us thought Peter Yan won. Let's be honest here. And although Sean had a very strong start in round 3, he faded after. He faded and he looked tired at the end, okay. So it was a very, very tough fight, but definitely didn't seem like he's going to be comfortable doing 5 rounds. Paiva, he finished him in round 1. Chris Montijo, he finished him in round 3. So he doesn't have any 5-round fights outside of Chito. Chito's the only 5-round fight. You know, and Chito's not a high-paced wrestler. It's a different... Look, Chito and Sean O'Malley, gas tank is almost... I won't say it's irrelevant. It's just that they're both strikers and they're going to stay in their comfort zone. They're not going to try to take each other down. People really get tired. Athletes at this level really get tired only when they're put outside their comfort zone. Now, if me and you are strikers and we're striking and I put you in a realm of striking that you're not comfortable with, I can't fatigue you. However, if you stay in your comfort zone during the whole fight, Sean O'Malley's at distance. If you keep him at distance the entire fight, he's never going to get tired. You have to put him in positions he's not comfortable fighting in, and that's the only way you're going to get a guy like that tired. Chito never did that, so it's not surprising to me that he looked fresh and explosive in round 5. If Merab plays with him at a distance, he's going to get crushed. He's going to get knocked out. That's definitely not the game plan, okay? Merab is going to close the distance. He's going to tie him up. He's going to put him up against the fence. He's going to wrestle him up against the fence. He's going to tie him up in every which way. He's going to try to slow him down in every which possible way. Who is GSP rooting for, O'Malley or Merab? That's from Tuxedo Mask. I spoke to him on Monday. He told me his pick is Merab. My pick was also Merab. We were talking about the fight, and a lot of the guys in the gym disagreed with us. Okay, so I can see here 63% are voting for O'Malley. So I could tell you in the poll in the chat, I could tell you that a lot of people are going for O'Malley. A lot. He only has 1 finish in his last 12 fights in UFC. That's from Der Schultz. That's true. Merab is not a finisher. I just read you his statistics. He's a decision guy. He goes to decision. He doesn't finish people. It's crazy. He's not a hard hitter. He's not a submission guy. He's just a holder, a pinner, a grappler, a maul you guy. He's just a maul you guy. Here's the thing with Merab. If conditioning is a problem for you in the grappling and wrestling world, he's probably going to beat you. He's just a very difficult guy. Think about it. Think about what he did to Peter Yan. He didn't destroy Peter Yan, but he had Peter Yan on the back foot, which is very impressive. Coach, did you see that Merab has a staph infection? ? Plus the cut over his eye is still noticeable. That's from Adam El Niani. Let me tell you something. Staph can affect your cardio. Staph is huge. I saw a headline. I didn't click on the video, but I saw like a video showing him he had staph in his arm. Staph is really bad, guys. You do not want to be on staph medication when you're fighting. It kills your cardio. Trust me, I know it for a fact. I've done it. I've seen it. I've experienced it. I've seen fighters go through it. It can really affect your cardio. It can take a guy with really, really good conditioning and make him look like a bum, you know. But I hope he's taking his medications. He's cleared, and he has at least 2 weeks between his staph infection, because I don't know when that picture was taken. I don't know when that video was taken. I'm not following him on social media. I just saw a YouTube video, but I don't know when they put that together. Maybe they were just like sitting on it to click it, you know, to send it out when everybody's talking about Merab so they can get more clicks. I don't know. But if it's close to the fight, it can affect your cardio heavily. Now, how does that hurt the guy with the best cardio ever, or one of the best cardios ever? I don't know. Coach, prime Faber versus Merab. Who takes it? That's from Devin Tech. That's a good question. Pound for pound, I would say Faber probably because he was more sophisticated in the stand-up. Does Sean's constant stance switching make it easier for Merab to land takedowns or harder? That's from Zubair. It's going to make it harder. Makes it harder, believe me, because it's harder to corner him. Every time you try to corner him, he switches stance, which brings him further out in the opposite direction. It's very hard to close the distance on a switcher. It wasn't staff. The close-up pic shows it's just a scrape. The close-up pic they used was fake. That's from Mr. Hyde. Exactly. There's a lot of fake stuff on the internet. People try to get clicks. People try to say dumb things. Oh, so-and-so's fighting. They start putting out their propaganda videos. They want clicks. They're clickbaiters. I hate clickbait, guys. I can't stand it. I click on a video. It's like, oh, it's not even what it's talking about. It's not even what the headline was about. I hate it, man. I just despise it. I just find it ridiculous. Coach, if Merab's C4/C5 is bulged, should he do iron neck? That's from Talha. Why does it have to be Merab? No, guys, don't do iron neck, okay? Please do not do iron neck if you have a bulging disc. It's bad for you, okay? Get strong and stable neck. I'm not going to talk about it now because I talk about it all the time. Go to jujiclub.com, get strong and stable neck, fix your neck. I show you how to use the neck cradle. I show you how to decompress your neck, guys. Please do it the smart way. Don't do it with this crazy halo thing. Believe me, we've been taking care of our necks long before the halo, okay? The halo, in my opinion, is not the best way to build your neck, okay? You don't want to put your neck under stress and then rotate your head. I really think that's really, really bad. Bad idea, okay, guys? So I'm not going to talk about injuries right now. We're talking about Merab versus O'Malley. Can't sleep on either fighter. It's a tough call, but I like O'Malley. That's from Ghost. Ghost, I totally agree with you. It's not an easy call. O'Malley's the finisher. Merab is the dark horse who's going to take it in deep waters and drown anybody. Merab is doing 5 rounds, guys. Imagine doing 5 rounds with that animal. Imagine if you had 5 rounds with Peter Yan. Imagine if you had Henry Cejudo for 5 rounds. Cejudo seemed to be breaking every round. It's a scary thing. Very scary thing. Coach, what are your thoughts on Mighty Mouse's retirement? That's from Harrington Ripata. Guys, I want to give a kiss. And how do I do the balloons again? I think it's like this. I want to send a kiss and a hug to Mighty Mouse, one of the greatest GOATs of all time. And congratulations on such a brilliant and successful career. You are definitely one of the greatest of all time, my friend. Enjoy your retirement. Enjoy time with the family. And I hope to see you on the internet. Okay, guys, we are going to round it up. I'm not getting as... The idea of Merab as champ is too depressing. Tuxedo mask. He doesn't like the lay and pray. He doesn't like the no finisher. He doesn't like the guy who's going to maul you. You know, I understand. I understand the crowds. The crowds want finishes. They want something to remember. Merab is not that type of guy. He's got to evolve. He has to evolve. He has to change because you don't want to be that champion nobody wants to fight. Nobody wants to see fight. It is boring. It is depressing. However, this fight is not. This fight I'm super excited. Why? Because there's this thing where there's this possibility where O'Malley lays him out. But imagine you had 2 guys who were like 0 chance of finishing each other and just going to be like a grappling match. Yeah, that wouldn't be exciting. You're right. A lot of the excitement comes from O'Malley's side. O'Malley's finishing ability. Hey, Coach, is it going to be the same like Leon and Bilal? Question mark. That's from the man from Nepal. It could be. It could be. Guys, if O'Malley doesn't lock him out in the first 2 rounds, I think it's going to be just that. Just Merab taking him down, controlling him, taking him down, O'Malley getting up. And at one point, O'Malley's going to like, let me try my jiu-jitsu. You know, let me just try to throw up submissions here. Let me see if I can make this work. Okay, guys, I'm looking at the polls in the... It's 62%, 38%. 62 to 38% in favor of O'Malley. You guys have spoken. You guys have put in the vote. I'm going to let it run a little bit more and see if it changes anything. Okay, guys, with that said, let's open it up to absolutely anything. We did 36 minutes on the fight. Let's open it up now to absolutely anything. I'm taking questions on any fight, any fitness question. Guys, don't forget to use your Level Up 50 off promo code. It's at the bottom of your screen. It's in the description. Go to jujiclub.com. Get absolutely any video you want. I just released 2 leg lock videos, outside ashi and inside ashi. Excuse me, a cross ashi and outside heel hook, okay? You must learn both, okay? How to finish the inside heel, how to finish the outside heel. It's a very, very well detailed set of videos, okay? It's an incredible set of videos. You will be becoming a leg lock master, I promise you. Check it out. All right, guys, give me your best questions here. Let's do something other than the fight. Coach, how did you get over your fear of flying? As I can I eat a croissant? No croissants. That's a no. You know, if you look at the satiety index, croissants among the lowest and the highest calories. So you want the opposite food. You want most satiety with least calories. So croissant is the worst food you can eat. So no for the croissant. Take that out of your mouth. If I saw you eating croissant, slap it out of your hand. Be a gentleman and a scholar and eat something healthier. And how to get over my fear of flying? Well, I did a lot of visualization. I did a lot of pretending to like fly, have my, when I'm in a car, I'd pretend it's an airplane. I do a lot of visualization. Excuse me. I talked about it in the last podcast, so check it out. But I did a lot of visualization. I did a lot of facing my fears, guys. I'm telling you, one tip that really helped me was this pilot who's also a psychologist. He had a program online. I got the program. And this tip really helped me. He had a bunch of tips, but this is the tip that I remember helped me the most. He was talking about don't go in your own movie. And what does it mean, don't go in your own movie? It's like, look, when you're on the plane, you're going to feel a bump and you're going to like, oh my God, like the wing is going to break off. He goes, you're making a movie in your head. He goes, don't go in your own movie. Just look around. Is the wing breaking off? Is the stewardess freaking out? Is the guy next to you jumping out of his seat? Like, is he scared? No, everybody's normal. So you felt a bump, look around. The pilot didn't switch on the safety seat, or people are not running up and down the plane. People are not panicking. This guy over here is reading his newspaper. The stewardess is pouring orange juice. Somebody's going to the bathroom. Like, it's just normal. Everything is normal. You're in a movie in your head, but reality is like completely normal. Like, everything is very normal. Nobody's panicking. So he's like, look, stay in the now, like forget about this movie that's playing in your head. Look around and like say, hey, that movie is not happening right now. It's not true that the engine's on fire, the wing is breaking off, the pilot is passed out. That's not true. That's all in your imagination. He's like, every time you catch yourself going into your own movie, remind yourself that that's just a movie in your head, and that's not reality. Actually, reality is the complete opposite. So you just kind of observe your surroundings and just like realize, hey, wait a second. Turbulence is very normal. Nobody here is worried. They're not calling Mayday. It's not true. All that movie is happening only in your imagination. So just like identifying, imagine the difference between, I know it sounds ridiculous, but believe me, when you have a phobia, imagination and reality, they blur, right? They blur. So because you're in a heightened state of fear, they blur together. So you got to remind yourself, hey, let me separate these two. Wait a second. This is all imagination. I'm getting freaked out over my own imagination. Really, really good tip. All right, guys, give me your crazy comments and questions on absolutely anything. Do arm wrestlers have an advantage in jiu-jitsu? That's from James Lee. Look, it helps to be strong for sure. So if you're very good at arm wrestling and you're super strong, that's going to be an asset when you do martial arts. I have a BJJ match. It skipped on me. I have a BJJ match in a cage this weekend. Is there a big difference doing BJJ in a cage versus a normal mat that I should know about? That's from JJ. JJ, yeah, there could be a big difference. Look, I'll tell you something. When you get taken down and your head's caught up on the fence. What fight was I watching today? Oh, yeah, today I was watching Brian Ortega fight Yair Rodriguez. And Brian Ortega had Yair on the ground, and Yair's head was on the fence, and he was completely like stuffed. Now, of course, you don't have to worry about ground and pound. But Ortega was just like wailing on him. And Yair, he's pretty slick on his back. He knows what he's doing. He's just completely caught between the weight of his opponent and that fence. There wasn't much space to maneuver. One thing I like to do when people put me up against the fence is I use my hand to kind of turn my head back towards the center of the octagon. So I don't like to fight with my head, the fence behind my head, So if I can't turn my whole body around, I want to point my whole body away. So I kind of put my hand on the fence and I kind of shrimp and turn my body. Or if I can't do that for whatever reason, I start to prop up and put my my upper back on the fence and start crawling up the fence. We call that a wall walk. Of course, it'd have to be done by demonstration. I couldn't do that here, but just try to stay away from the fence because you can get pinned up against the fence. Now, if you're just doing jiu-jitsu, it's not so worrisome because the guy can't really beat you up and pass. It's kind of be very difficult to do. Any issue in returning to training while overweight? Saw the TriStar summer promo, but had been hesitant due to being out of shape. I'm getting the itch again, and I want to get in shape, though MMA... What? Get in shape. That's from COMS. Look, I will tell you this, okay? Never delay getting in shape. Okay, so I will tell you this. I always tell my students, when you come in, do technique, and then after that, don't roll. If you're out of shape, don't roll. Do the technique, because that's fun. It's going to motivate you to come to the gym. You're learning new things. You're meeting new people. And then go do the air bike. Go do the treadmill. Go do a weight routine. And me, like when I do conditioning, it's only like 15, 20 minutes. I don't do like hours. I don't do like a 45-minute program. I don't have the time for that. I just find it so mind-numbingly boring. But if you tell me, look, we're going to do 15, 20-minute conditioning, I'm all on board. I can do that. That I can handle. So take advantage. If your gym has a weight set or a bag area, like TriStar, we have mats and we have a bag area. We have a weight area. We have sled pushing. We have air bikes. We have treadmills. Like you have a fully equipped gym. You have kettlebells. Do technique and then work on your conditioning. Work on your health. Because the thing is, if you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to wait till I get in good shape to do jiu-jitsu. I guarantee one thing, you'll never do jiu-jitsu. You're probably going to take 2, 3, 4 years. If that mentality, you never get anything done. When you make a decision, it's yes, I'm doing it. It's done. I'm doing it tomorrow. That's it. I've decided. Nothing's going to deviate me from my plan. That's the kind of attitude I think that actually gets results. People who think, oh, I'm going to go through all these steps and then I'm going to accomplish this goal. Forget about it. I think the vast majority of those people, they never get anything done. Nowhere near any. It's ridiculous. Like if you want to do something, you got to do it. And I would tell you, if you're overweight, don't roll. No, don't roll live. But it doesn't mean you shouldn't do the technique. You come in, you drill. You're going to lose weight because you're moving your body and then hit the weights. I have many students, I tell them, look, because they ask me the same thing. I said, don't drill. And some guys tell me, oh, look, I have a bad shoulder. Okay, do technique, then do abs, neck, shoulders, back. Do your prehab, your rehab. Do some kind of fitness. I learned this from wrestling with the Olympic team in Canada. They used to never miss practice. It was all about never missing practice. If you miss practice, the coach would lose his mind on you. And if you were injured, you would do technique. You do an hour and a half technique, an hour technique, and then you go swimming, or you would do a run, or you do air, or you do bike, or you do some kind of conditioning exercise. But they had a pool in the university, so actually it was a college. They used to make us do some type of exercise afterwards. You can't miss practice. What is your best strategy to humble a cocky student? That's from Panda Asylum. Well, I have some brash students. What I like to do is I like to beat the hell out of them, ridicule them, call them out. People don't know this, but in the gym, I'm the biggest trash talker. People don't know this. Like, people will be shocked, especially with the students I like. Like obviously when I'm trash talking in the gym, I try to make everybody laugh. If they're not, if somebody's not laughing, I won't be saying anything. But I love to talk trash to my students when I'm rolling with them, when I'm before sparring or whatever. I talk so much trash, man. There's not a bigger trash talker than me in the gym. I guarantee you this. And I have this thing where I like to check if my students are street certified. So what does that mean? It's like, as we're wrestling, I'll grind their head on the fence, or I'll do something dirty. And when they complain about it, I'm like, what? You think on the streets this won't happen? Like, you're not street certified. You're okay. You're good enough for grappling tournaments. You're good enough for like MMA with rules and a referee there to protect you. But if we were in a real street altercation, this is what would happen to you. Just letting you know. And it's just like a funny thing, little thing I like to do. Sometimes I'll be going with a grappler and I'll like Of course, always joking around. This is after practice. Okay, this is when we're like maybe a Friday class when we're clowning around. I might throw like a body kick or a knee or a fake elbow or something, and I'll just show them like, hey, if this was a street fight, you'd be dead on the ground already. And of course, it's just kind of like funny and jokey. But 99% of the time we're training, guys, it's like really serious at the gym. But there is a time where we kind of joke around and play around. And if you're a little bit brash, well, you might get a taste of the medicine. How to be a good leader in martial arts, life, and business. That's from Brandon. Brandon, I will tell you something. A good leader, I heard this quote the other day. I forget who said it though. A good leader is a dealer in hope. If you're the leader of your family, if you're the father, if you're the big papa, guys, I'm old-fashioned. I think the father, the man, is the leader of the family. I have a little test. I was telling one of my superstar friend fighters. I was like, you know what? You think you're the head of the family? I dare you to round up your entire family. Round them up at the table and tell them, hey, you guys, don't ever forget it. I'm the head of this household. Men are so scared today. You can't say that. It's so PR. It's so bad PR. It's like so bad, man. Like the man can't even claim that he's the head of the household anymore. It's crazy. The whole world has gone insane. But me, I still do it. Sometimes I round up the family. I say, hey, don't forget who's out of the family here. And of course, like it's old-fashioned. It's not popular nowadays. It's frowned upon. Of course, the feminazis are gonna jump down your throat. Of course, your neighbors, your wife, your kids are all gonna be like, "Oh, is he crazy? What's happened to this world? What's happened to this world? Like leadership, men have like crumbled. A lot of people think I hammer on the West. Guys, don't forget, I'm a philosopher. I'm always going to hammer the people I live with. I'm going to critique philosophers. We critique ourselves. We critique our nation. I live in the West. If I was in the East, I'll be critiquing the East. I'll be critiquing them. Hey, guys, we got to clean this up. We got to do this right. It's not an insult. It's a productive criticism. I want you to do better. I want you to do better. The men in this country have like slipped off, man. They've really slipped off. It's crazy. And every year it's getting worse. Every year it's like, you have to be ashamed to be a man. Like, it's like really sad. Now, I think a good leader is a dealer in hope. Like, he makes you feel good. He takes an average person and makes that person aspire to be something amazing. He takes an average person and brings them to a world-class level. Now, if you give that guy a talented person, he'll make that guy one of the best ever. Okay? But a good leader makes everybody better. Everybody. Okay, but you have to be unashamed of being a leader. Unashamed. And I think a man should be a leader in his home. And if you're a martial artist, of course, if you're running a club, you should be the leader in the gym, of course. You should show a good example, etc. But you should be a leader in every facet of your life, especially if you're a man. Especially if you are a man. Islam coach, please talk about the Muslim non-dualistic view and Sufism or determinism in the multiverse. Wow, that's a wild one. For $5.99, you want all that for $5.99, Mr. PG? Okay, let me reread that again. Islam coach, please talk about the Muslim non-dualistic view. What's the Muslim non-dualistic view? I'm going to talk to you about dualism in a second. And Sufism or determinism in the multiverse. Wow, why the multiverse? Look, guys, let's talk about what's dualism. There are three major worldviews. Okay? When it comes to substance theory. One is that we're dualistic. We live in a dualistic universe. What's a dualistic universe? Well, there's the flesh. There's matter, okay? You stubbed your toe on a rock. It really hurt. Well, that rock is flesh. That rock is material. It's a substance. It's something. It has a weight. It could be touched. It could be seen. It could be felt. It could be heard. And then you have this other realm of the soul, the spirit, the mind. The mind, you can't touch it. You can't see it. Now, we all know we have a mind, right? You cannot deny that you have a mind. So dualists say, look, we're half material. We're flesh and bone. And then we have the soul. Okay, we have the soul. So you put these two together, we have this dualistic world. Close your eyes and think about an apple. That apple, you see it in your mind. Maybe you take a bite out of it in your mind. Wow. If I opened up your brain and I looked inside, I wouldn't see that apple, would I? Where is that apple? Well, that apple is not really in time and space per se. That's in that non-material place. Where is that place? Well, it's not really anywhere. It's not behind your ears. Excuse me, it's not behind your eyes and between your ears. No, we don't know where it is. We just say, look, it's not really in time and space, so to speak. Not like this rock over here is in time and space. Not like my body is in time and space. But where is it exactly? Well, that's the big mysterious question. So we have a dualist worldview. There's this duality. There's two components side by side. And then you have materialism. Materialism is like, look, no, there's only sticks and stones. There's no soul, spirit / mind. Now, a lot of materialist philosophers have struggled with this. A lot. And this is like almost the end of the road for their philosophy. They always hit a brick wall here. Why do they hit a brick wall? Because how can you deny the mind? We asked them, like, how do you know? How do you know the whole world is just sticks and stones, so to speak? Okay, guys, when I say that, I don't mean the world's literally sticks and stones. I mean matter and chemistry, okay? But just another way to think about it, an analogy, is we say sticks and stones, material. Well, I thought this. I thought, well, how did you think? Well, you have to have a mind to think. You're having a first-person experience of mind. How could you deny mind? Then they realize, oh, wait a second. My whole worldview is just shattered. So materialism is an unsustainable worldview. It's an unsustainable worldview. It's impossible to say that we're only matter and chemistry, physics and chemistry. It's impossible. It's an impossible worldview. Why? Because to say that, you'd have to make up your mind. And if you make up your mind, you've just disproved it. And then there's a third worldview, which is idealism. There are no sticks and stones. It's all mind. Excuse me. Think about if you were in a dream. In a dream, you pick up a stick. You throw it out a window. You break the window. And I'm like, hey, man, you see that stick you threw? You see that window you broke? It's not really a stick or a window. That's just all ideas. What do you mean it's all ideas? It's all imagination. It's all just ideas in something called the mind. You're like, what are you talking? I feel the weight. I heard the breaking of the glass. I heard, I broke the stick. It's something I can hold in my hand. Yeah, but it's all imagination. That would blow your mind. You were like, it's impossible. I feel it. Yeah, but it's all something going on inside this thing we call the mind. And that's what idealism is. Out of all the three philosophies, when you push them to their extreme, the one that holds most true is idealism. Dualism is still good. And I remember once I heard Sam Harris say, oh, we could dismiss dualism. I was like, I almost choked on my drink, whatever I was drinking at the time. I was like, is this guy insane? Like, how could you dismiss dualism? Nobody's been. Now, don't get me wrong. Some philosophers do dismiss dualism. They ridicule it, but they never did it logically. They just think, oh, it doesn't make sense. It's personal incredulity. It's too mind-blowing to them that they just can't believe it. That's what they never give a good argument against it. And of course, idealism is even more mind-blow. Okay, personal incredulity. They just can't accept. They can't accept that something so crazy could be the reality. Well, let me tell you something. Take somebody from 2,000 years ago and show them our world, how we live today, and the things we believe. It would blow his mind. He would be like, impossible. I never thought they'd have airplanes, cell phones, technology, computer. That would blow his mind. That's nothing. Imagine what the future is going to be like. We haven't even exercised 1% of our ability. Reality is far more mysterious than we can wrap our minds around. So why should this blow your mind? Because at the end of the day, everybody who dismisses dualism and idealism, it's just too much of a mind blow. This is what we call in philosophy personal incredulity. You personally can't just accept something that's so crazy. It's so mysterious. It's such a mind blow that you just feel like, I'm going to close the door to this. I'm not going to ask any more questions. I'm not going to engage with you anymore in this conversation. And they take like this petty, easy way out. They never deconstruct the argument and find the flaw. Now, there are a lot of debates on dualism, okay? But there's nobody who's ever put the nail in the coffin in dualism. Now, I lean more towards idealism because idealism, I'll tell you something, is irrefutable. For those of you who write me emails, oh, you can easily refute idealism. Why do you waste your time with me? Publish your work. Become the most renowned philosopher in the history of the world. If you can disprove idealism, don't waste your time with me. Write your paper. Publicize it. Publish it. you will become world famous. They will mention your name in the history books over and over again as the man who disproved idealism. Countless thinkers have tried, countless mega geniuses, and each one of them has failed miserably. You also asked me about determinism, but I'm not going to go through that now because that was way too many questions. My brother Andrew Tate would KO you TriStar. That's from Tristan Tate. We got a Tristan Tate spoof account. Tristan Tate, if that's really you, please do come to the gym. Let's do some rounds. It'll be fun. Coach, you started doing my toe sprints after getting strong and stable running. My calves are almost balloons. Every girl wants me. And I'm going to attack, step, counter, KO any fool to get in the cage with me. That's from Sam Satowski. Sam, congratulations on the new mega calves. Guys, check out Strong and Stable Running. I teach you how to balloon up your calves. Forget the calf weight machines. That's the worst idea. Check out my calves. Look at any TIE Fighter's calves. They're always like gigantic balloons. Any bodybuilder would love to have calves like that. And it's the easiest way to get balloon calves. Guys, check out Mr. Sam's calves. I'm sure he's got some social media out there posting pictures of his new calves. All right, what else we got here? We got a bunch of super chats. Guys, don't forget, I always do super chats and non-super chats as well. What if time is an illusion, like Parmenides claims? This would solve the problem of infinite regress. No, that's from Kasim. It's not that Parmenides... Look, it's not that time is an illusion, okay? Time is very mysterious. Let me tell you something about time, okay? It's incredibly mysterious. Like I'm telling you, if you read philosophical works on time, it is very difficult to understand. Like I'm telling you, this is one of the most creepiest and complex subjects ever. It is incredibly difficult and mysterious. But I will tell you something about time. Time is emergence. Time, as we know, is emergence. Does it solve the problem of infinite regress? It doesn't. Let me explain to you why, okay? Let's say I had a movie, okay? Let's say this was a CD player or a hard drive, and I told you, look, there's a movie in here. I put a movie. I put all the information on there. Like, if you connect this to a computer, you're going to watch the movie. And you're going to be like, okay, it's a movie, right? Yeah. And I'm like, everything has already happened. Everything is determined. And everything has exists at the same time. So the beginning of the movie exists, the middle of the movie exists, and the end of the movie exists all simultaneously. Now, when you watch the movie, you're only going to watch one scene at a time. So for you, the movie is going in order, and there's a timetable. Now, when I'm looking at, I'm not watching the movie. You're watching the movie. I'm just looking at the CD drive. For me, the whole movie is already done. You're watching the movie, so you're at the beginning of the movie, and then I kind of call you, and I'm like, "Hey, man, this is gonna happen at the end of the movie." And you're like, "How's that possible? How could you know? I'm not at the end." Yeah, but from your perspective, you're just seeing the beginning, and you're almost at the middle of the movie. I already seen the whole thing, and actually, from my purview, I can see all the information. So I'm just reading the code, and I can tell you, look, at the end, so and so wins $1 million. And you're like, "What? That's not possible. How could you know that?" And then when you get to the end of the movie, you're like, "The guy knew." Well, it was all determined. It's all a script. Okay, our universe is like that. This is how I see the universe. I see the whole universe is done. Time, just like space, is somewhere. So like I'm at home and my gym is a few miles away. I used to be 5 years old. My 5-year-old self is somewhere as well. I also see my 5-year-old self as being somewhere as well. Like the movie, just like you saw the movie. Everything's already done. Now I'm currently at this stage in my movie. I'm watching the movie currently. Now, when the movie was written, because don't forget, everything is determined. The beginning was written, the middle was written, the end was written. There is a sequence. So that's why it doesn't defy the problem of infinite regress. Although the world is determined, the future of the world is determined, I can't see that future. I don't have the capability because I can't compute all the variables. If I could compute all the variables, I would know what's happening in the future. This is Pierre-Simon Laplace, guys, not my thoughts. I mean, there's so many great thinkers, but I like to quote Pierre-Simon Laplace because he was known as the French Newton, one of the greatest physicists in all time, one of the greatest philosophical thinkers of all time as well. And he wrote some very good essays, very powerful essays on determinism. which I think are much more easy reads. And he explains, look, if you could control every variable, if you could understand every variable, you would know exactly what the future is. So time is emergence. Emergence is a very difficult thing to explain, but it's a projection of the mind. Everything's already done. Everything already exists. Whether you live or die tomorrow is already written. It's already done. It's inevitable. You just don't know because you cannot compute all the possible variables. Okay, guys, I'm going to have to put a guy in timeout because he's spamming. Let's put him out timeout for 30 minutes. If everything in the universe is contingent and finite, does infinity actually exist, or is it only a concept in our mind? That's from Angel. Angel, does infinity exist, or is it only emergence? That's a really good question. You see, we have a lot of questions about infinity. There's a lot of things that are inconclusive because we never witness infinity. We never witness infinity. I think infinity does exist because I can't imagine. I think it literally exists. It's not emergence, because I can't imagine existence without it. Think about this, okay? There's a big question on whether we came from nothing. Like, I was just listening to Piers Morgan versus Richard Dawkins because I was thinking maybe I do my reaction to Piers Morgan versus Richard Dawkins. And Richard Dawkins was saying there was nothing, and then spontaneously the universe came to be. He talks about it in one of his books as well. He's talking about spontaneity. What's spontaneity? Spontaneity, why don't you just say by magic? Why do you use the word spontaneity? Because look, if something is uncaused or happens spontaneously, if you mean that literally, if you say in the quantum world there's things that are uncaused, which I'll debate anybody on this, okay, because it's not true, then you're saying that something happened and it has no explanation. Things occur in the universe. Imagine right here, right now, an apple is going to pop into existence. Boop. An apple, a fresh, red, beautiful apple. And I'm holding it in my hand. I'm like, where did that come from? It just spontaneously appeared. Hell, forget an apple. Imagine a whole universe spontaneously appeared right here in my office. Why not? And then you're like, how did that happen? And I can tell you, spontaneously. Well, why didn't you just say magic? It's magic. Why didn't you use the word magic? Why don't you use the word woo? Why don't you say it by woo? Why use such a word? He's trying to say, look, it just has no cause. Poof, poof, magic. Bring some pixie dust and poof. That flies in the face of science. So you're being scientific your entire life career, except once we get to here. That's special pleading. Oh, everything has a cause except this one thing. Poof. Non-philosophers, we say, look, we have to get to something that's self-explanatory, something that doesn't need a cause. That's different than something that's poof, magic. So you have two options. One, you have magic, poof, spontaneously. The wizard Richard Dawkins, he doesn't know he's into magic. He doesn't even know it, but he's appealing to magic. Or you say, look, it goes back to something that's self-explanatory, something that is self-generating, something that is necessary. It doesn't need to be caused. So for instance, you have Chris Langan. He wrote the CTMU. He's one of the highest IQs individual in the world in the history of America. And he says, look, the beginning of the universe, he says it has to be self-generating, self-sufficient. It has to be necessary. It can't be otherwise, because then we'd have an infinite regress. He understands the problem fantastically. Richard Dawkins doesn't understand the problem. He's like, oh, I'm going to appeal to poof, magic. Now, Aristotle said it beautifully. He said, look, let's say there was a universe with nothing in it. It had to have at least potential, and potential is existence. Because for something to come in existence, it had to have the potentia, he says. We can't say we came from non-existence. That's an impossible. That's basically saying, look, we give up. We're going to just say it's magic. Richard Dawkins is saying it, but he doesn't understand the implications of what he's saying. If something in the universe ever occurred without a cause, then Why don't we just say, hey, when Kennedy's head exploded, that just happens in the universe. Every scientific experiment you'll ever do and have ever done is subject to this magic that happens in the universe. Maybe all the results just happen like that. They just magically occurred. Suppose you do a cancer study on smokers for 20 years and you find that 80% of smokers have cancer. Well, I could always say, well, the universe came from nothing. Maybe the cancer came from nothing. Maybe it just spontaneously occurred in 80% of people's lungs. You don't know. It flies in the face of science. Guys, I don't want to get into PSR, principles of sufficient reason, but believe me when I tell you that every contingent thing has an explanation. You might not know it. I might not know it. The whole entire world might not know it, but it has one. If you take that away, if you don't believe in that, you've now dismissed all of science. It's amazing how he loves science. He's married to science. He praises science. And then when he gets to a question that's very difficult to answer, he shoots science in the head. He takes science, puts him on his knees, and executes him. He says, oh, I don't need you here anymore. I'm now going to appeal to magic. He shoots science right in the head. And he says, it occurred spontaneously. He said in his, and I was listening carefully, with Pierce Morgan, he's like, life occurred spontaneously. Then he says, oh, we don't know how life occurred exactly. Nobody knows how biogenesis occurred from when we went from matter to life. Life is also very hard to define. Okay. But we can agree that there were cells or a single cell that came to life. And he says it had to be very simple and then move to the complex. He's wrong. The cell, now we know today, I can name you 1,001 biologists who are going to tell you the cell is so complex. The single cell is super complex. Dave Berlinski, a mathematician, when he analyzed the cell, he said it's more complex than a galaxy, or as complex as a galaxy. It's that complex. It's like saying my computer, it's more complex than my computer, than what I'm talking to right now. The first cell is more complex than the computer. So how could it be the first step? How could it be biogenesis? Life had to come together by random chance, slowly, bit by bit. How could the computer be the start? Because the computer has pieces. Those pieces have to come together. How could it be? Well, Richard Dawkins so far said spontaneously, by magic. Well, now you just skipped a step. Okay, let's just say we don't know. We need more time. We're going to think about it really hard. But when referring to the beginning of the universe, he also said the universe spontaneously occurred. That's insane. You might as well just execute science. You are defying the postulates of science, the axioms of science. Coach, you steel man. Oh boy, this is from Mike Goodwin. Coach, could you steel man Tommy Robinson? Does he not have a right to want to protect his culture, his country and culture? Question mark. Middle East wouldn't allow other cultures to grow there and do not disproportionately to grow there and do disproportionate crime. That's from Mike Goodwin. Okay, Mike, I will steel man him. Okay, but just first off, I want to say, look, I looked up his statistics. Okay, he mentioned a few statistics. I looked them up. I went in the comment section. I'm like, somebody give me a source of what he's saying because I don't find anything of what he's saying. Migrants, from what I've read and I've looked up, have less crime in the UK than locals do. Less rapes, less sex crimes. Now, there is a question of grooming, okay? Now, the grooming is very controversial. There is a Pakistanis who groom. Let me tell you something. Muslims were against that. That's haram. That's forbidden. Punish them. But don't label all of us. It's like saying, oh, this Chinese guy is running an illegal gambling. All the Chinese are illegal gamblers. Let's get all the Chinese out of the country. Tommy is making what we call a hasty generalization. It's racist. It's bigoted. It's disgusting. That's what I can count you. Countless nations have done that. It's wrong. We always look back and are humiliated with those people. That's number one, okay? I'm going to steel man him. I promise you. Just give me a second here, okay? So I got to tell you, like, one, you have to be very careful. It's bigoted rhetoric. If a Pakistani guy does something illegal, arrest him. Guys, you're going to have my blessing. Arrest him. I don't care he's Muslim. Punish him, man. He committed a crime. Punish him. If he's white, black, green, blue-eyed, Italian, Portuguese, Asian, I don't care. Punish. He committed a crime. You have proof that he committed a crime. I don't care what his background is. Punish him. Give him the proper punishment. That guy should not be grooming or hurting any individuals. When you go in Muslim countries, they have the lowest rape crimes. The lowest, okay? Especially, look, guys, crime and rape and all this happens in countries that are poor. third world countries. If you go into rich Muslim countries, they have zero crime, zero rape, zero anything. It's the lowest. It's countries with the lowest crime rates of every kind. So it's not Muslims the problem, because Muslims, we obey the law. Guys, I would never do any horrible crime. Why? I'm like, I was raised, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. I was raised like that. You have to understand, our culture is not to do bad things. Now, is there bad Muslims? Yeah, they weren't raised right. They don't hold on to their creed. Okay. Another very important point is Muslims have to obey the law of the land. So like, we're more prone to following the rules the more religious we are. So the more religious a Muslim is, the more less he's going to break a rule of the state, because he's bound by the contract. There's so many bad arguments he makes, okay? But let me steelman him. Actually, before I steelman him, let me just say something else, okay? If you want your culture to thrive, it's not us the problem. It's not the migrants. It's the fact that their nuclear family is destroyed. British people don't have children anymore. Let me look up the birth rate. I bet you it's 1.5 or lower. Okay, I haven't looked at it in a long time. I just want to... Okay, British birth rate is 1.56. And that's with migrants. Imagine it was let me say native birth rate. Estimated total fertility rates for UK-born women increased to 1.54. Okay, so it's really low, and it increased to 1.54. You need 2.1, 2.8 to really thrive. They're below replacement rates. Why are they below replacement rates? I'm not going to get into it again because we talked about it many times. But the more liberal people are, the less children they have. Why? Your wife, she's a vegan doing yoga. You're a rock star pursuing his music career. Your kid's really into, I don't know, grunge or goth. And your daughter, she's LGBT. And then everybody's pursuing their own happiness, and they're not united. And okay, then after that, the next generation, they have a lot less kids. Why? Because they're into me. Traditional, more conservative people, they're very into family. Like the wife and mom and the family with 2 or 3 kids, at least 3 kids. Like the parents want you to have kids. Then when you have a kid, your son wants a little brother. Like, we're much more family oriented. That's how you pass down your culture. Like, for instance, here in Quebec, I'm kind of in the same situation. Us Arabs, us blacks, us migrants from every culture, Pakistani, Indian, we have a lot of kids. We come here and we have a lot of kids. And then the French want to maintain their culture, so they pass new rules. Now, look, I love French culture. I married a French woman. But I'm not French. I'm partly French, but I'm Lebanese. So I want to practice my Lebanese culture. You know, so I feel comfortable, especially I'm Muslim. They want to intercept me. They want to take that out. They want to take it away from me. Why? Because they don't have any kids to teach their culture to. They want to teach my kids their culture. Well, that's why I got to draw the line. I got to say, hey, guys, I like being here. I like working here. I like living here. Thank you very much for having me. When we came here, we said that everybody can practice their own religion, their own way of life, follow the rules, follow the law. I've done that to a T. I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I want to teach my kids my culture. Why should I teach them your culture? Why should your way of life go on? If you want your way of life to go on, Tommy Robinson, and I say that to the entire world, marry and have kids. And teach your children the way of life. Don't look at the other guy who's doing well and say, hey, you're doing well, you're growing, you're going up in the world. Let me hold you down. Let me push you back. Let me kick you out. Okay? Guys, let me tell you something. Before I steal him, I'm still going there. Let me tell you something about colonialism. Okay? Colonialism, the most brutal colonial power in the history of man. What is the British Empire? The British Empire starved, killed, mowed down more human beings than any other empire in history. They were the most violent in history. They went around the world. You know, they say the sun never sets on the British Empire. You know why? Because there was British Empire all over the world. The sun would always be shining on some part of the world that's British Empire. Some part of the world that's British Empire had sunlight, always, 24 hours a day. The sun never sets in the British Empire. Now, how did they accomplish such a goal? Well, they took people's resources, they colonized, they killed, they murdered, they absorbed people's resources, they made their country rich. What happens, do you think, to people you rob their resources? Well, they're going to come want to live with you. They're going to want to come and live where you are. They're going to follow the resources. People don't come to the UK because there's tea and crumpets. People come to the UK because there's resources. If you take the world's resources, guess what? We're all coming over, and you can't stop us. We're going to crawl through the lines. What I'm trying to say is, this is Britain's chickens coming home to roost. If I was a British philosopher, I'd be sitting telling the British people every day, we got to buckle back down. We got to get more conservative. We got to have kids. We got to teach them our culture. We got to learn not to displace migrants. That's the song and dance I would give. Like I talk about all the time here in Canada, what we need to do. How I talk about how in the West we have to better ourselves, how we have to dig ourselves out of this hole. Now, that's a philosopher's job, by the way, guys. Don't forget, especially Greek philosophy. My major in Greek philosophy. It's the know thyself philosophy. What's wrong with me? What am I doing right or wrong? What makes me successful? What makes me unsuccessful? How do I think? It's a very introspective philosophy. Now, I'm telling you, if I was Tommy Robinson, I would tell him, if I was a philosopher in the UK, I would tell him, look, guys, these are our chickens. These are our chickens coming home to roost. These are our faux pas that we did in the past that are coming to bite us. You know where. Instead, Tommy's like, hey, you see these guys? Oh, they're taking all our tax dollars. Wrong. Migrants pay more into the system than they take out. Please, somebody challenge me on that. Why do you think they need migrants in? Because you didn't have enough taxpayers. You don't have enough people to work the jobs nobody wants to do in the UK. He's completely wrong. He's like, oh, we should get them all out. Dude, if you took out 5 million people out of your country, your economy would collapse. That's how brain dead Tommy Robinson is. He's brain dead. Okay, I'm going to steel man him. Don't forget, I'm not going to do it. But I just want you guys to know that when I steel man him, I don't share in any of his racist views. His bigoted, racist, small-minded views. Okay, so I'm going to tear him down first, and then I'm going to steel man him, and then I want you guys to decide for yourself. The only way the UK can retain its culture is that the English-British man and the English-British woman love each other enough to have kids. And love each other enough to raise their kids and pass down their values. That's the only way. Because what little brain Tommy Robinson doesn't know is that with a 1.5 birth rate, your country will collapse and go extinct. That's what he doesn't understand. Guys, do me a favor. After this, go Google what's happening in Korea. Korea is on the verge of collapse. Japan is they're saying Japan won't last 75 more years. They have too low of a birth rate for different reasons, very different reasons. Okay, life is very stressful. People can't have big families because it's too competitive economically. Not the case in the UK. In the UK, yes, it's a competitive economically, but it's more because the British are not getting married anymore. They're divorcing at a higher rate and getting married at the lowest rate ever. The problem is haram, drinking, alcohol, partying, all the things the Muslims don't do. All the things we don't do, that's what's killing the family. Why do you think it's haram, forbidden to gamble? Why do you think it's haram to drink? Why do you think adultery is haram? Why do you think, why do you think we have to marry our women? You want to have sex with that girl? Well, you got to marry her first. You can't just take her for the weekend and send her back. No, you can't recycle her. You can't send her around. No, it's not a timeshare. You got to marry that girl. You want her, you got to marry her. It's a much more committed way of life. And the benefit of that is that we have our family. The benefit of that is that our culture goes on. Okay, now, let me steel man Tommy Robinson. And please, guys, this is not my views. Okay, if I were to steel man Tommy Robinson, I would say, look, politicians want broke people coming in. Why? Because those broke people eventually get a vote, and they vote for that politician. That politician is going to dilute my vote by bringing in 10 migrants. And he's going to appease to those migrants. He's going to tell those migrants, look, I'm going to take from the rich, Tommy Robinson and his friends, and I'm going to give you programs, and I'm going to put you up in a hotel, and I'm going to help you out. And I'm going to help you live a better life in this country than you would in your country. Now, You give me the vote, and I'll get to be a legacy politician. And that's the benefit. It's my own personal benefit I'm putting ahead of Tommy Robinson and his crew. Now, I think that's the best argument for Tommy Robinson. Now, if that's the case, if it's true, Tommy's got a beef with his politicians, not with the migrants. I'm just coming here because I was invited. I got a document. Hey, come to this country. We want you here. We want your labor. We want your tax-paying dollars. We know you're going to work. We're going to put you in a hotel for 6 months. We know you're going to get a job. You're going to pay into the system. You're going to pay taxes. Guys, bringing, like, my father came to this country with very little money. He paid, I think he's been here, I don't know, my dad's been here maybe 50 years, close to 50 years. He's paying taxes. I've been here my whole entire life. Okay. I'm paying taxes. I've paid way more than anything. No, the government never spent money on us. But I'm telling you, we paid into the system. Like we were a good trade for the Canadian government. We were a good trade. You know what I mean? Most migrants come in, they want to work. They want to better their lives. They live in little apartments. They want to buy a house. They have a dream like you. Well, how are they going to buy a house? Well, they're going to have to work their ass off. They're going to have to work double shift. They're going to make it. Then they want to see their kids go to school, get diplomas. It's all good business. What's Tommy belly aching about? Well, he's belly aching because he thinks that, hey, I got all this competition. But you guys are first generations. You guys are there before us. Your properties go up in value. That's the whole idea. If I buy a home, look, I own a home, migrants come in. Well, I'm happy because they want to buy houses. Guess what? My house is going up in value. People with assets are happy when migrants come in because we go up in value. They're at the bottom of the food chain. They push us up. Why is Tommy at the bottom of his food chain? Tommy Robinson himself is not. He's a millionaire because he takes funding from everybody. Guys, this guy, by the way, Tommy Robinson, I hate to do this, but he's wanted for so many crimes, okay? Violence, resisting arrest, drugs, mortgage fraud. So he's a fraudulent human being. He defamed some young kid, put a fake video out, and he had to pay that kid £100,000 or something like that, something around that, like a huge amount of money. And he kept defaming the kid. So the kid, from what I remember, the guy's suing him again. And one of his cameramen came out and outed him how he faked a video to make it look like this. He punched this migrant guy, but it was really him who started the fight. Tommy Robinson started the fight. Then he punched this guy, and then the guy who was filming outed him later on. Okay, it's a popular video online. In my opinion, the guy's a fraud. Okay, in my opinion, the guy's doing all this because he gets a lot of views. He gets a lot of money. Everybody says he's on cocaine, drugs, a drug addict. He looks like a drug addict to me. He got kicked out of Canada for using an illegal passport or a fake passport or something like that. Like, he got deported. And now I think he's one on charges. I think it's domestic terrorism. I'm not even sure. He's Irish. He uses a fake name. He used a fake passport. Like, he's breaking the law left and right. And he's like, hey, you guys are breaking the law. You guys are breaking the law. Dude, you're a notorious criminal. You're a notorious criminal. We have videos of you punching people on the internet. Multiple people. He's like always getting into a fight. He's got like a little man syndrome. He's like 5'6". He's always punching people. He's a real, like, I would love for him to come to Montreal and try that with me. I would love for Teddy Bear Robinson to try to punch me. He's a clown. And he acts all tough, and I'm going to save the British people. And he has a pea brain. He has a little pea in his brain. There's a little tiny pea brain. Okay? He's a fat, short, disgusting human being. And he's racist. He's not even beautiful on the inside. He's just a racist, bigoted human being. But here's the thing. He incites people to commit violence, and then these people go to jail. A lot. They have like, I forget how many arrests, but like 2,000 arrests from the UK riots. Like the whole UK is rioting. Now, I can't say it's all because of him, but he definitely instigated it. He's like, oh, migrants. Dude, it wasn't even a migrant. It was a guy born in the UK, a Christian guy. It wasn't even a Muslim migrant. It's not even true. And then like 2 weeks later, some Muslim migrant saves some girl getting stabbed on. Her mom and this young girl are getting stabbed, and some Muslim guy goes and saves her. The truth of the matter is, I did a little research. I didn't spend a lot of time on it, but there may be some Pakistanis that are grooming young kids. Well, arrest them, goodness sake. But he's using that to make it seem like all the 5 million Muslims in the UK, and I think there's more. Hold on, let me Google how many Muslims there is in the UK. Okay. How many? Just under 4 million. Islam is the second largest religion in the UK with the results 2020 census recording. Just under 4 million. Okay, so I said 5 million. I was wrong. It's 4 million. Just under 4 million, actually. That's a lot of people. That's a lot of people. You want to kick that many people out? It's going to be difficult. Okay? I don't know how you're going to do it. You don't have the police force. You're going to have to get the army involved. Where are you going to put him? Where are you going to send him? What are you going to do? Look, if I had to steel man his argument, I would say the politicians are using migrants to get votes and have legacy careers. That's it. Then your beefs with the politician. A hard-working Muslim man's not going to go and try to groom a girl and get her thrown in jail for 25 years or get exported. That's a small minority. That's for sure less than 1.0001%. And that's just a problem for crime, for the police. It's a crime like everybody else. A white guy, a black guy, a yellow guy, an orange guy, whatever. He committed a crime, throw the book at him. Be my guest. Tommy Robinson is appealing to people's fears and insecurities, and he knows, I hope he knows, the true reason if British culture is going to continue, and I think it will, because there's more white people in the history of there's never been more white people in the world than today. There's more white people in the history of the entire world. There's never been more white people, okay? White people are not getting diluted. White people have just plateaued, and they're not reproducing as much. And the other races are catching up slowly in terms of number, and it's going to even out because as races get richer, they have less kids. Okay, they all liberalize a bit and they have less kids. So birth rates slow down for everybody. But the debauchery is not helping, guys. The debauchery is not helping. That's the truth. Okay, guys, I'm doing more comments and questions now. All right, let's see what else we got here. Did I miss more super chats? Looking forward to joining TriStar and beginning training. Are fundamental BJJ classes taught separately from advanced? ? Would like to learn the basics. Yes, we have a basics class Monday through Saturday. Check the schedule on the TriStar Gym webpage. We have classes every weekday, 6:45 p.m. And then on Saturday at 12 p.m., it's basics, advanced basics. Mayu says, are you afraid of death? Any advice for people dealing with death anxiety who are also non-religious? Mayu, I think we're all scared of death to a certain degree, but I will tell you something. I've made my peace with my own personal death a long time ago. However, I don't want to die simply because I have children. So I want to make sure that they're in a good place before I leave this world. And my daughter also, she really fears my death. She tells me she doesn't want to live without me. So I told her that I would take very good care of my health, and I will live a very, very long time, and that we'll probably die around the same time. I made that promise to her. And I know she's a young girl. In her mind, that's just like an immature maybe thought, but I want to keep my promise to her. So in that sense, I really don't want to die because I would feel that my daughter would suffer. And I don't want to see her suffer. I don't want to even think of her suffering in that sense. So for that reason, I do honestly take very good care of my health. I want to live a very long time for her. Now, if I was a single man, I would have a lot less anxiety about death because I really trust in the afterlife. I really believe like how I woke up in this world, I'm going to wake up in the next. And no Richard Dawkins' small, finite amount of knowledge about the world can make me think otherwise. He's trying to convince me, look, there was total darkness, then it was a little flash of light. Your life, the whole world was a little flash of light, and then it's eternal darkness again. How the hell do you know it's eternal darkness again? How the hell do you know? Oh, well, physics. Well, how much of science do you know? You've been here for a second. You've literally been here for a second. Science has been here for only a second. And your knowledge of the universe is very minimal. All I know is I used to not exist. Poof, I exist now. Like I came in this world, I'm going to come into the next. And I see it as inevitable that I'm born again. Inevitable that I'm brought back to life. Now, you could choose to have that kind of belief, or you can have a belief that, oh no, it's eternal darkness. Well, you won't even enjoy this brief moment that we have. But I don't just say it because it makes me feel better. I honestly, truly believe that. I used to not exist, and now I exist. Think about it like this. If you grew taller, you used to be shorter. If you got bigger, you gained weight, you used to be lighter. For me to run faster, that means I used to run slower before. If I tell you, oh, I'm much warmer now, that means previously I was colder. If I tell you I fell asleep at 7, that means at 6:59 I was awake. You can't fall asleep if you're asleep. You have to be awake. The opposites, you transition from your opposites. If I tell you I'm no longer thirsty, well, that means previously I was thirsty. It's a necessity. If I tell you my thirst was quenched, that means previously I was thirsty. You have to generate via your opposites. If I die, that means previously I was alive. If I was born, that means previously I was, what was I? Fill in the blank. I was non-existent. I was dead. I was not alive. Whatever you want to call it. Well, I went from non-living to living. How it happened, nobody knows. Not exactly. No, the mechanics. Biogenesis is a mystery. Whether you're a secular atheist or you're a Muslim, because in Islam, in Islam it says, the Quran says, you were not a witness to the creation of man. It says in the Quran, like, you were not a witness. It's a mystery to you. You weren't there. How it was done, you were not there. Ibn Tufal, a famous philosophical writer, he gives 2 stories of how life began on a certain island, and he says, look, either way could be either way. We don't know. It's a mystery to us. He's talking about it as a Muslim perspective. If you're a secular atheist, you don't know. I'll tell you something. I've searched every secular thinker. Nobody knows. Believe me when I tell you, I've looked under every rock there is. It's called biogenesis, and we don't know. There's many theories, but we don't know. So there's this mystery. We have to deal with it. But we know for certain that we're alive. It's called the anthropic principle. Bring me the most hardcore atheist, is going to tell you, look, the anthropic principle states that we must have a theory that explains life. Why? Because we're alive. We're clearly alive. We don't need a logical syllogism, and we don't need no scientific experiment to prove that. It's abundantly obvious. So, and listen, I could take this conversation on a much higher level. I won't, because it's kind of creepy if I do. Like, a lot of people are going to freak out. But I'll tell you something. We were once not living, and now we live. We will die. Like you woke up from your sleep and you fall back asleep, you're going to wake up again. And that's the way it is. React to Michael Parenti's argument against Aristotle being pro-slavery. He talks about how others say he is committing presentism, historian's fallacy. Yes, that's from Hassan. Michael Parenti's argument against Aristotle. Let me see this. Michael Parenti. Is that on YouTube? Hold on, let's look up Michael Parenti. Michael Aristotle, slavery. Guys, don't forget that the Greeks had slaves, and they were not in the least shy about it. Okay, so like today, we look back and we're like, oh no, don't tell me my ancestors were slave owners, and we cringe. The Greeks were not cringing. To them, it was very, very normal. Okay, so you're saying here, react to Michael Parenti's argument against Aristotle being pro-slavery. He talks about how others say he is committing presentism. Okay, I'll look it up, Hassan. I think I might have found the video. From Aristotle to George Bush. I will put it's 56 minutes, so I won't play it. I thought maybe it was a short clip or something. I'll put it on my save later. And I'll try to have a listen to it. But look, here's the thing. Aristotle had a lot of racist views. Of course he did. But he lived in a time where, to him, that was taught to him at a young age. And for him, he didn't have time in his life, perhaps, to cross-examine every thought he has. Every thought he has in his mind. Like, we all cross-examine, philosophers all cross-examine all the thoughts we have in our mind, but we can't get to them all. We cannot get to them. It's impossible. Because every time we cross-examine one thought, we have thoughts of other ideas, and then we have to cross-examine those. There's a never-ending amount of cross-examination. But I'm happy humanity came out of it. Okay, so I'm glad we did. But I think Aristotle was not an obstacle necessarily. Okay, because he was a product of his time as well. Shiz says, let's keep it interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Is it true Osama bin Laden was linked to America's intelligence like CIA? Question mark. Is it true then he is Jason Burnell? Is that Burnell? No. He is Jason Bourne. What? Out to get justice. Entertainment purposes only. Who's Jason Bourne? Hold on, let me look that up. Jason Bourne. That's some kind of like, what? I don't even know. I haven't. What's this movie? What's it called? Jason Bourne, Shadow War. I haven't seen it, guys. Sorry. I have no idea who that guy is. Jason Bourne. Let's keep it interesting, ladies and gentlemen. Is it true that Osama bin Laden was linked to America's intelligence like the CIA? I think that's abundantly obvious. He fought the war for Russia for the CIA. They trained him. They armed and trained Osama bin Laden. The USA armed and trained Osama bin Laden to fight the Russians. Then they abandoned them during the war. They abandoned the Afghanis during the war against the Russians. Is it true then he is... Oh, I see what you're saying. Are you saying like he's a hero type figure to get revenge? I wouldn't say that. Look, killing innocent people is always wrong. Always wrong. On September 11th, many innocent people died. I find that completely wrong and repulsive. So I won't make light of it, especially not on today. Today is the anniversary of 9/11. So shiz. Usually I give you a big thumbs up and I call you a gentleman and a scholar, but this time I cannot. You have to be more sensitive. It's a very, very important day and a very important historical event. They're already developing robots to do everything. That's from 7-6. Yeah, the Japanese are trying to develop robots before their society collapses. Let's see if they make it. It's going to be interesting. I highly doubt it, but I think they're too busy trying to make... never mind. Okay. Why do you believe Christianity is false? That's from Famous Ace. Well, that's a very sensitive topic. Look, I get invited to Christianity all the time, actually. I really like Christian people. You know, they're very sweet, they're very kind, they're very loving, they have a very positive culture, and I understand that, and I find it to be very sweet. I just really cannot understand why they worship Jesus Christ. And I understand, like, if you say that to Christians, like, what are you talking about? Jesus Christ, he's man, he's God made into flesh, and they have this whole philosophy. And I simply don't agree, okay? And I'll tell you why I don't agree. Now, I have a very different view than most Muslims. You know, some Muslims are going to say, oh, the Trinity, it doesn't make logical sense. There are contradictions. I agree there are contradictions, but I believe God can do anything. Like, I believe God is not subject to our laws of logic. He's not subject. No, and that's a very heavy thing to say because Leibniz, one of my favorite thinkers of all time, he said, even God is subject to our laws of logic. He was on the opposite side of the fence. He said even God couldn't create a contradiction. I thought that was very bold of Leibniz to say. I thought that was actually very arrogant of Leibniz to say, which I totally disagree with him. I think God is beyond the laws of logic. Logic is something we were given. I love what Ibn Arabi says. He says to weigh the world, not to weigh God himself. If you try to weigh God with your reason and logic and science, it's going to backfire. God is beyond that scope. So I'm not worried that the Trinity is illogical. That's not what worries me. Even though there's obviously many arguments. Because don't forget, the Christians say you can't understand the Trinity. It's a mystery. There's no human being that understands the Trinity. But I have a different bone to pick. I pick a very different bone when it comes to the Trinity. I pick a very, very different bone with the Christians. Okay? Now imagine Jesus, alayhi salam, he had the Sahaba, he had his disciples. The disciples trained the church fathers. The church fathers gathered the books and canonized the Bible. Okay, it was not the apostles. That's for sure. Okay, so you have Christ at the top, then you have the apostles, and then the church fathers claimed that they got their tradition from the apostles. For 300 years, the church fathers never talked about the Trinity. They were all subordinationists. They all thought that Jesus was subordinate to God. There's God. God is the top. And then there's Jesus. Jesus is very special. He's very, very high up, but he's not on par with God. Bart Ehrman writes a famous essay on this. He talks about how Paul in the gospel, not in the gospel, in his writings, okay, in the New Testament, he says that Jesus is on par with Yahweh, but he's not Yahweh. He differentiates between Yahweh and Jesus. My point is this, okay, this is a very important point. It's a very subtle point, but it's really, really important. It's a gut-wrenching point. You have Jesus, you have the apostles, and then you have the church fathers. Then you have the councils. The councils are saying there's a Trinity. But that means you're taking something new now. You're innovating something new that the church fathers didn't do. Well, they say, the church fathers didn't understand the Trinity. They're saying, look, it takes time to figure it out. They reread the passages over and over again. They thought about it really hard, and now they know the Trinity. They're saying the church fathers didn't understand. But that's crazy, because the church fathers supposedly heard it, according to Christians today, from the apostles. The apostles didn't tell them about a Trinity. They didn't tell them that Jesus is one with God. With God, literally, he's a man on earth. Because if he did, they would have known, about this Trinity. It's a bit of a complicated point. But what I'm trying to say is that if the church fathers indeed had contact with the apostles, which I don't think is even true. Trust me, I looked at it really hard. I'll talk about that more in a little bit. If it's true they had direct contact with the apostles, then they should know all the secrets, all the ins and outs. And then we have another layer, all the councils. Did they get it right from the church fathers? Well, they disagreed with the church fathers. They say the church fathers didn't understand the Trinity. Well, that means the church fathers had direct mouthpiece to the apostles. They heard the apostles speak, and they didn't get it. Was it that complicated to understand? So I think there's no link. Personally, I don't think there's a link between the church fathers and the apostles. I'll tell you why, okay? Because if you look at the God, and I'm just being totally honest, guys, please don't take any offense, okay? I don't mind having a back and forth and dialogues, and I understand it, especially religion, people take it very seriously. Some people dismiss it all right. Some people take it very seriously. Some people are like, they don't care. They just like the dialogue. But I respect everybody's religion. But I'm telling you, the one major concern why I get invited to Christianity quite on a regular basis, the one of my major concerns, is that out of Paul's 13 letters, half of them are disputed. The scholars say that half of them are not written by Paul. So they don't know who wrote those letters. They're called the disputed letters of Paul. They're disputed. And if you understand why they're disputed, then you would have a major doubt that he actually wrote them, because people have a certain set of vocabularies. These letters are using vocabulary words that Paul never used, expressions that he never used, words that come from a different region, etc. So they have a really good reason to believe that this man never wrote these letters. Imagine, half of his letters are highly disputed. Now, I'm not telling you I went to some troll site of how to debunk Christianity. No, I'm talking to you. I go to the top scholars. Guys, when you want to know something, if you're serious, if you want to get good at fighting, what do? You go to the top trainers. If you want to get good at mathematics, what do? You go to the top universities. What do you do when you want to know about Christianity? Well, go to their top scholars. Don't go to the trolls. I don't go to the trolls, okay? I don't believe in that. I think that's embarrassing. People who follow these trolls online, it's quite embarrassing. It's unacademic. But anyways, the top academics dispute really who wrote these letters. So I don't even know who wrote that letter. And then I had this one thing. I was like, okay, well, let's go find out what Peter said. Because if Peter was like the right hand of Jesus, and I know that's disputed, but let's say he was the man he's going to base his church on. Well, Peter will tell us what Jesus said. But the letters of Peter are also disputed. They're considered not authentic. You have first and second letters of Peter. Guys, read what the scholars say. You cannot connect that letter to somebody who lived in the first century. It was written way later. People realized that the Christian movement was becoming really, really powerful. And if you had letters in your possession, you were a person of very important repute. So people faked letters. We know that for a fact. We know for a fact that large parts of the gospel were faked. We know that for a fact. So there's so much to understand about the Gospels. It's not a clear message. There's no doubt. There's no Christian scholar today that will tell you, look, the gospel I'm holding in my hand is exactly what Jesus preached. There's not one alive. There's not one alive. The only guy who's going to say that is like I'm talking about scholars. It's a guy who is in a church somewhere. He's a preacher. He gives sermons and he believes that. But in academia, you can't prove it. Trust me, the further back they go, the less the gospels agree and the more diverse they become and the more scarce they become. The problem gets worse. The closer you get to the story of Christ, the more the story has diverged. So from my understanding, the thing that bothers me the most about Christianity is they say Jesus is God himself. Doesn't make sense. The whole point of the Old Testament, the Jewish Testament, the Jewish Bible was that God is not a man. Why didn't God come to us as a golden calf? He can do anything. But why would he tell me, look, don't worship a golden calf and then come down as a golden calf? Like, is he messing with me? The first book was all about don't worship the golden calf. Well, you'll die. You'll go to hell if you worship the golden calf. And then in the next book, he's like, hey, I'm the golden calf. But wait a second. You made me swear. You made me promise. Now, if I refuse, you're going to tell me I'm against you. If I accept, maybe I'm against you. Like, why would he put me in such an impossible position? So in the Old Testament, the Jewish Bible, we're sworn never to worship man, never to worship the golden calves, never to worship any idol. No man has ever seen God, it says. And then all of a sudden, we have a movement that's telling us to worship a man. Okay, now there are many other reasons why I don't agree to that Jesus is God, because in the first century, literally Caesar was saying he's the Son of God, the Savior of humanity. Literally all the titles that Christ has in the gospel. If you know your first century, Caesar claimed that about himself. So the early Christians, when they were saying, hey, it's Jesus the Son of God, they were just saying it's Jesus the leader. That's all they were saying. They weren't literally saying he's the begotten Son of God. They weren't saying that. Dominic Crossan, a scholar, very, very influential scholar, an ex-Catholic priest, he says, look, you cannot understand the gospel unless you understand the first century. And in the first century, we have coins minted, Caesar, Son of God, the Savior of humanity, the salvation of man, the way, the truth, the light. These things existed before the gospel. But they were saying, no, we're going to follow Jesus, not Caesar anymore. Caesar's Rome. We're not following Caesar. We're following the Jewish religion now. We're skipping to this one God belief. So to say he's the king, to say he's the best, you have to give him the name that Caesar had. But later generations didn't understand that. So they started saying, well, he's the Son of God, so he must be God. Why? Because he's biologically connected to God. He's the Son. He's literally has his DNA, so to speak. Some kind of divine DNA. It spiraled into something different. Look, there's a really interesting passage in the book of Acts. Paul and Barnabas, they go to the pagans and they're like, hey, we have the message of Christ. And they're like, oh, these are gods. Let's worship them. So they start worshiping Peter. Not Peter. They start worshiping Paul and Barnabas. And he's like, no, I'm not a god. I'm not a god. Think about it. Even the New Testament is telling you people wrongly worship men easily, on a dime. Imagine a guy who's doing miracles. People are going to think, oh, he's a god, he's a god, he's a god. Because the Middle East at that time, having been dominated by the Greeks previously, don't forget the Greeks conquered all of the Middle East. They had Hellenic thinking, Greek thinking. And people thought if you were a superstar, they'd call you the Son of God. If you did anything incredible, amazing, they'd be like, oh, this guy has divine. God blessed him. He's part of God's family. He's part of that lineage. Because they saw themselves as uneducated, dirty, and weak, and meek, and have nothing. And you're this guy on a horse with a lot of money and a sword, and you win battles, and you do politics. Wow, to them, there's such a disconnect between you and them. You're so much greater than them. They thought, wow, this guy must speak to the gods. There's so much culture to understand. So when you read it, you realize that, hey, they mixed Hellenic thinking, Greek thinking, with Christianity or / Judaism, and they made this hybrid. I really don't believe Jesus ever claimed to be God. No way, no whatsoever. And Bart Ehrman has a great argument against this. It's an argument from silence, but it still makes a lot of sense. Because argument from silence is only wrong if you think it guarantees the conclusion. Don't forget, all the fallacies, guys, believe me, I studied fallacies and logic for so many years. Later on, guys, ask me what my favorite fallacies are. I'll give you a whole list of them. They're really interesting. It's only a fallacy if you think that it guarantees truth. Now, this next argument is just made to persuade you. It's not made to convince you. It's not ironclad 100% proof. But Bart Ehrman says, look, in the book of John, the last book, the book written 100 years later after Christ, says all the I am sayings. All the I am sayings, guys, I'm not going to get into it, but it means basically Jesus is saying, I'm God, guys, I'm God, I'm God. I'm the God. Worship, like it doesn't say worship me, but I'm God. All those sayings only exist in the last book. It's not in the first 3 Gospels. How's that possible? If the disciples heard him say that, they would have wrote it down. That's like the most important part. Why is it only the last gospel, which the most dubious? It's the one we were not sure of, the one we have the most doubts of. The book of John is the one that's most doubted. We don't know who wrote it. We don't know why it was written so late. And if you look at all the books, if you read them in order, scholars tell us Mark was first, then Matthew, then Luke, then John. It seems that the Christology or Jesus' divinity goes higher and higher until by the last book it's full blown. So why is the one where it's full blown, like it's super convincing that he's saying that he's a God, is the most dubious? So I just don't find it convincing. Guys, let me tell you something. Isaac Newton, one of the most incredible minds. Like, he knew all of this plus more. He was a fanatic of the gospel. He's a fanatic. He knew the Bible inside out. He claimed that Jesus was not God. The Trinity was a perversion of the church. It's actually fascinating. It's fascinating. And I can go on, but I just don't think that it's convincing to say that Jesus is God himself. Shiz, I apologize for my adult humor about Osama, Coach. RIP to all the losses. Thank you very much. Do American militaries control a lot of Muslim countries like Afghanistan, Iran, Pakistan? ? Shiz, I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Do they control many Muslim countries? I think they intimidate many Muslim countries, so they indirectly control them. I think they do have some of their representatives as leaders in certain Muslim countries, and they don't control Afghanistan no more, and Iran, no, they definitely don't control Iran. Pakistan neither. Okay, but there are some Muslim countries which I won't name because I do travel to these Muslim countries sometimes, and I don't want to find myself in any hot water. But I do believe they intimidate and definitely have their presence felt in the Middle East, if you know what I mean. iRock says, love this channel. Thank you very much, iRock. Shout out to you. You're a gentleman and a scholar. Coach, would you bring GSP for AMA 200, please? That's from Manco. Maybe, man. That's coming around the corner, isn't it? Yeah, that's maybe a good suggestion. I'm sure we can have a great episode. Thoughts on breath practice and being calm. That's from Jack. Jack, I covered it the last episode. Please check that out. The last episode, I covered that. Being born a human is like winning the lottery. That's from COMMS. He's happy to be human. It's true. It is quite amazing. Did you watch the video on Karbala? That's from Hazan Haytham. I did. I learned a lot of new details that I didn't know. Very interesting video. Yes. Very heart-wrenching. I didn't finish it yet because I didn't have time to, but I will rewatch it and finish it. There's a lot of details that I didn't know about, and quite fascinating. Thank you for sharing. Would you rather have to leave the party and have it go on without you, or be told you can never leave? The boss says so, and you better have a good time. I don't know. Am I enjoying the party? I could look. Not sure about that question. I mean, if I'm enjoying the party, I wouldn't want to leave. But anything will become torture after a while. I mean, in this existence, in our realm, for sure. Merab had a judo background. How can judokas transfer skills MMA without the gi? That's from Irakil. I think they learn wrestling, and then they complement their double legs and single legs with judo throws. You know, so you shoot in the legs, guy sprawls. Now you kind of wrap around the waist. That's a strategy I really like to do. I shoot the legs because it's hard to just grab a guy and wrestle him. I like, grabbing the upper body specifically. It's tough because they're punching you. But when you shoot in the legs and they sprawl, I like to climb up to the upper body and kind of use my judo throws, etc. And sometimes you find yourself chest to chest up against the cage. That's another great time to implement your judo. Would you advise Merab to shoot low single right away? Khabib did against Conor. That's from Jeremy. Yes, I think that would be brilliant. I think that's brilliant. He'll avoid all the big punches. Sean is going to snipe, dude. Don't be silly. Don't be silly. I might come back here to eat my words, guys. I will probably. I may come back here to eat my words. It's 63% for O'Malley, 37%. We have nearly 800 votes, and the verdict is in. We'll see. We'll see this Saturday. Do you think Dana is not as dialed in as he used to be? Question mark. That's some shit one. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but the UFC does run as smoothly as ever. It's a very well-oiled machine. So he's paid his dues. I mean, if he's not tuning into every fight like he used to, I'm not sure if he is or isn't, but if he isn't, I understand him. You know, there's more to life than just watching fights every weekend. Coach Zahabi for MMA, do you think CMBT sport should be studied purely, then changed to suit MMA? Oh, sorry. Do you mean combat sports? Okay. Coach Zahabi, for MMA, do you think a combat sport should be studied purely, then changed to suit MMA, or should you adapt your style to suit MMA from the start? That's Hayden. No, try to learn. That would be too complicated. If you're a beginner, learn the sport itself. Okay. Now, if you go into an advanced gym, like an advanced MMA gym where they've done it all. So like when I teach wrestling, it's modified already for jiu-jitsu. But for you as a beginner to go in a wrestling club and try to learn wrestling and figure out what's modified, what's not, like that would be way too complicated. You'd have to have 20 years of experience wrestling against MMA guys to understand what the problems are. So, but if you can learn it immediately by a guy who has that expertise, that will give you an edge. If your goal is not to wrestle, let's say, and you want to wrestle for MMA, well, go learn to wrestle at a wrestling gym, at an MMA gym with really good wrestling. Coach, I told an atheist God is perfection, and he told me this augmentation, like David Hume said. So how would you define perfection in the God sense? That's from True Red Crime. True Red, I would tell you, look, if there's nothing in the world that's perfect, how do you know perfection? So you knew the color red because you saw the color red. Well, I have the idea of perfection. Now, perfection, it's undescribable. It's like red is undescribable. I have to see red to know what red is. So when you tell me augmentation, no, perfection is not augmented or subtracted from. It's perfect. If something is perfect, how could you augmentate? Do you add to perfection? No, it's perfect. Do you subtract from perfection? No. So the word God also means perfect. I have this idea of God, something perfect. You don't add. And the thing is, I have this idea that something is eternal. How could I add to it? It's eternal. Now, here's the thing. The way we get to God also is by determinism, okay? Because here's the thing, okay? And I've talked about this in the past, and it's getting late, but I'm going to re-sum it up, okay? There's one of two possibilities. Guys, no more super chats because I'm going to end it very shortly. There's only two possibilities. Either there are random forces that created the universe, and today we look into the world and design is an emergence. So there's random forces and design is an emergence. Emergence is like an illusion. So you have a hard, like this is my symbol for a rock. Okay, you have this thing that's real. If I throw a rock in your face, it ain't no illusion. You feel it. So either random forces first and then design is an illusion. Let me give you an example. Okay, guys, please no more super chats because I'm not taking any more. Imagine I go into the Arctic and I see a polar bear, and I'm like, wow, look at this design, man. The polar bear is white and he's hiding in white snow. What a brilliant design. It's going to make him a better hunter. And somebody's going to be like, no, 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 no. That bear used to be a brown bear. One day, there was a genetic mutation, and one of the bears was born white. But because it was snowy in that area, that white bear hunted more. He mated more, had more offspring. Guys, if you find any problems in this example, know that you're finding a problem in Neil deGrasse Tyson's example. He did a documentary and explained it exactly like so. He says because that white bear found himself in a white environment, he had a hunting edge, and he mated more, he ate more, he mated more, he propagated his genes. That gene code was an error that made him white, but that error turned out to be something positive in his life. It gave him an advantage. So you have random forces, there was an error, and then there was emergence. The emergence was, it seems to the uneducated, as a design. Look how perfect it is. The polar bear is in the white snow and he's white. It seems like it's designed. Actually, every single positive trait that you have, if it helped you mate or find more food, helped you survive, it would be more likely passed down. So it looks like we're perfectly designed. But really, it's just a fluke. It's just trial and error. Blind forces, just rolling the dice. And when they win, those genes go forward. And when they don't, those genes die. So it looks like a designed universe. You have random forces, then you have emergence. The emergence is like this spooky illusion. That's a trick of the mind. You're projecting it onto the world. It's not out there. There's a major problem with that. There's a major, major flaw, and 99.9% of the world's biologists don't see it until they get into the philosophical circles. And even then, it's hard to see, man. This next thing I'm going to bring up is really hard to see. If you understand determinism, and determinism is a result of random forces, then every single movement I make or do is a product of random forces. Just like the chemicals in my brain are just billiard balls bouncing around, and those are due to random forces. If it's the case, then the secularist, materialist, atheistic worldview cannot explain agency. How come I have the ability to have freedom or think? How could logic exist? Logic would have to be an illusion. It would have to be emergence. So now your reasoning, the biologist that says that it's random forces and then design is an emergence, you're basically saying that my logic is also emergence. And you're reasoning that your logic is wrong. It's faulty. It's an illusion. It's not true. That's a self-defeating position. Now, take my point of view. My point of view is that it's design first. Design is the rock. And randomness is the illusion. Randomness, when you said that the brown bear had a genetic error, that error is human interpretation. That's where the emergence is. That's where the true emergence is. It wasn't an error. It was not an error. It was determined. It was intentional. It seems like an error from me. I'm projecting the diagnostic that it's an error. It's me. That's a human judgment call. How do you know it's an error? You don't know if it's going to benefit you or curse you. You don't know. Imagine that if I was in the litter of I was born a bear. I'm in a litter and I'm like, oh man, I'm the only white one. This sucks, man. Everybody else is brown or black and I'm the only white one. Everybody's going to make fun of me. Nobody's going to want to mate with me when I'm older. I'm going to be the biggest loser in the bunch. You know, the Quran, it says, when something bad happens, sometimes things that happen to you you think they're bad, but they're really good. Sometimes you think good things happen to you, but they're really bad. You don't know. So I'm this bear and I'm in the litter and I'm like, oh, this is really bad, man. And then we find ourselves having to migrate really far where it's snowy because we're running out of food or we're trying to run from hunters or whatever. And then I find that, hey, wait a second, being white in a white, snowy area is good. I'm catching more fish I'm catching more seals than everybody else. I'm catching more prey. I'm eating more. I'm mating more. Oh, look, being white, the white polar bear was the best. The emergence is happening at the point of quote unquote genetic error. It's not an error. That's where their emergence is. So think about it now. If design is first and randomness is the emergence, then logic exists. There shouldn't be a problem with logic. Logic can now exist because here's the thing. If you think that we're a product of random forces, reason cannot exist. Proof that reason exists is that I'm making logical arguments right now and you're hearing them and you're having an experience of reason. How could that be if reason doesn't exist? It would be impossible. So we have the thought, just to go back to your question, we have the thought of perfection. We know that determinism is behind us and we're thinking rationally and we're having thoughts about God. How could I have thoughts about God if I wasn't determined to have thoughts about God? To be determined, for me to have thoughts about God, I have to be determined to have thoughts about God. I know it's a complex subject, guys. It's a really complex subject, but I will tell you something. One day I'll give you guys my thought experiment for narratives, because when they say there's an error, that's a narrative. It's not a description. That's another fallacy. When you go narrative over description. In science, you're supposed to describe what you see. You're not supposed to give a narrative. The narrative comes at the end. They're giving us a narrative, not a description. That's it. That's the error. But you need philosophers to figure that out for you. And they despise philosophers. They despise philosophers. Like, I don't know why it is, but the scientific community has almost gone on a witch hunt against philosophers. They hate us. They despise us. Okay, guys, I'm going to finish up the super chats, and I'm going to finish it on a fun one, and then we're going to call it a night. Please, no more super chats. Thank you for watching the video on Karbala. The Shia always gets misrepresented, and then the details matter for Muslims to have a true reconciliation. Yes, it's true. We have to have reconciliation, but also, Hassan, we have to get over it too. You know, like, of course, it was a horrible thing, yes, but we can't make our existence, our fitna, yesterday's fitna. That was their fitna. We have our fitna now. I really think we shouldn't get in the way of unity. The Muslim world really needs to be united as much as possible. Okay, guys, thank you. Okay, what else? Hey, Coach, can you please check my past super chat? Here we go. Max. Okay, guys, I'm doing my best, but I did not find your missed super chat, my friend. I apologize. It expired. Abolish CIA and the Federal Reserve. Thanks, Coach. Guys, that's a message from Zayn. Zayn wants you guys to abolish the CIA and the Federal Reserve. All right, guys, let's finish it. No, Misha, I'm not Shia. I'm a Sunni. I'm not Shia. Sunni, guys. Okay, guys, let's finish it on a fun one. Coach, how should we approach women in 2024? That's from 45 is alive. I'll tell you, go on their OnlyFans page. They all have an OnlyFans page now. Let me tell you about OnlyFans, okay? If you're women in your society have OnlyFans, you know what that says about us? It says our women don't respect us. As a whole, the women in this country don't respect us. They have the guts to go take pictures of themselves, put it online, and have strange men give them money. It's a humiliation to our culture. It's a humiliation. In Canada, in America, in Europe, it's such a humiliation. Our daughters, our sisters, our moms, our cousins, what the hell? They're all on the internet showing their body parts, man. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's becoming an epidemic. You ask a girl, what do you do? I'm an entrepreneur. What do you mean you're an entrepreneur? What kind of business? Social media. What do you do on social media? Oh, check out my channel. Check out my My OnlyFans. That's an entrepreneur. Wow, you're an entrepreneur. Wow, incredible. Guys, what a joke. What a joke, man. I tip my hat to countries who the women wouldn't dare. They would be humiliated. They would be shamed. They wouldn't want to show their face in the town square. What does it say about our culture? It says that, man, our women don't respect us. Not only that, it shows how sad men's love lives have become. That you have to pay some girl on the internet, that she makes you feel like she's your girlfriend, but she's really, you're probably texting with some dude. You're probably texting with one of her employees. But you feel you have this connection with the girl. Like, what does that tell us, man? People are missing some of the most basic needs. Some of the most basic human needs are going unfulfilled, and people are turning to the internet. It's very, very sad. Spreading legs for simps. That's that's from Good Night. You know what? I've been going on a simp phase lately. I've been simping to my wife. I just do it in front of my sons just to like gross them out. But my wife, she likes it. She's like, oh, look, he's being nice to me again. But like, I call myself the Simp 2000. And I'll like, my sons will be like, oh, Papa, do this. Or that. No. I would never say such a thing. I would never, like, I simp to her right in front of them. One, for two reasons. One, I just want to like be funny. And two, I never want them to simp. I want them to see what it looks like. Like a guy who's like a spineless, weak, just like spineless is the perfect word. And I know they gross it. I know everybody knows I'm joking, but I want them to see what it's like. I want to make sure they understand the grossness. Do you bet on the fights? Matt, no, I do not. A Will Smith, Mark Antonio Gaming. Ooh, he hit Will Smith hard. Eesh, that hurts. Guys, give me the top 3 simps in history. Who are the top 3 simps in history? I would like to know their names. I know one of them. I learned one of them last year. Adam22. Guys, I wish they never taught me of Adam22. I wish I went my whole life never knowing who Adam22 is, but unfortunately I do. I do know who he is. Mohammed, let's do that for another episode because I'm going to shut it down now because I've been going for 2 hours and 13 minutes. Let's do it for another episode, something I've talked about many, many times. Destiny is a simp. Oh, definitely he's a simp. Adam22, major simp. Adams 22, Will Smith, and Destiny. Tuxedo Mask hits us hard with a trio. Who else out there is a simp? Give me the 3 biggest simps. Debate Sam, stop running. We need you. Don't be scared or make excuses. Who the hell is Sam? Fresh from Fit and Fit. No, he's not a simp. Come on. Ian Gary. Oh, somebody put Ian Gary. Goodness, man. You guys are horrible. Joe Biden. He strikes me as a bit of a simp. It wouldn't surprise me. Coach, what was your favorite Street Fighter character? That's from Mancos. Ryu was my all-time favorite Street Fighter character. Zubair Dodd says Gordon Ryan. Guys, okay, let's change the subject. All right, guys, let's change the subject. Change the subject. This is getting way too personal. I thought you guys were going to give me like people I don't know. I don't think you guys are going to start hitting people I know well. Okay, guys, let's spin it. Give me one last one, guys. Who's going to give me the last and final comment or question? Something fun. Give me something good, guys, please. Coach, you know Ahmed Diaz? Yes, I'm a little familiar. That's from TV account. I know a little bit about Ahmed Diaz, not too much. Okay, guys, I'm not doing any more deep philosophical questions because I want to end it on a fun one and then call it a night. It's already past midnight for me. Coach, what is your dream car? That's from Detroit Viper. All right, Detroit Viper hits it right on the head. All right, like, let's say I had to just pick a car for fun. I hate to say Bugatti because I tease my kids all the time, But Bugatti, oh yeah, you got your Bugatti waiting for you. I just like the word Bugatti. I don't even know. Like, I've seen Bugattis; they're pretty amazing. Like $1 million a car. But isn't that like too trendy? I've been once in a electric Ferrari. It blew my mind. It was pretty incredible. One of my students had an electric Ferrari. Quite incredible. I mean, Lamborghini, is that like done to death? You know what? I'd probably take a Bugatti just because I like the name. It's $1 million car. It's a $1 million plus car. So, you know what? I'd probably do the Bugatti. Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, comment. And as usual, check out jujiclub.com. Use level up 50 off. Make sure to punch in the promo code and get 50% off your order on anything on jujiclub.com. See you all in the next episode. Thank you.